Hello everyone, it's me, Lucy again. Today I will review a new and quite interesting series, and now let's get right into the content. Another winter has come to the Tianyin sect, everywhere is covered in ice and snow, the cold air makes even the heart want to freeze. Meanwhile, in the room of Zhang Yijian, he is sitting by the fireplace in his room. Wrapped in a warm blanket, there is a pile of clutter scattered across the floor around him, looking utterly disorganized. Just by looking, it may seem messy, but those are all precious items, not magic weapons then skills. Anything that could be burned for warmth has been ruthlessly thrown into the fireplace by Zhang Yijian. The cold winter of an ordinary person like Zhang Yijian might pass like this. While sitting by the fire, he thought to himself, "Little guy, this winter in this world truly wants to take lives. I, Zhang Yijian from Earth, am currently at the 6th peak master of the Tianyin sect. As a crossover person, I have a system that gives me a reward every day, and what I draw from this system is mostly divine-level magic weapons." At this point, Zhang Yijian threw the skill he just drawn into the fireplace to burn. He sighed again, "But these things are of no use to me, they can only be used to wipe my butt or start a fire." Zhang Yijian looked out at the freezing sky and thought, "Who says I was born without spiritual roots and can't cultivate? Why am I already a master peak but still have no spiritual roots? If I had them, I might have already ascended by now." Just as Zhang Yijian finished his thoughts, a loud voice suddenly called from the other side, "Is Zhang the useless person there?" He immediately turned to look. All he saw was a disciple from the sect. Though he had no authority, he mocked a master peak like Zhang Yijian. The ceremony for accepting disciples at 6 peak has officially started. "You, a useless person, should hurry and join, everyone is waiting for you." Hearing this, Zhang Yijian's face darkened, thinking to himself, after so many years, it's the same as always. At that moment, the system announced, "Congratulations host on activating the second function of the system, accepting cultivation disciples." The system provided more information about this function. First, accept female disciples. The cultivation gained by the disciples will be returned to the host many times over. Second, the rate of disciples' betrayal is 100 times, 1,000 times, and 10,000 times. Third, each act of betrayal is random and uncontrollable. Reading through, Zhang Yijian couldn't hide his joy. "I guess this means my main character skill has been activated." Zhang Yijian was so excited he almost cried. He embraced the system and shouted, "This is amazing, useless person, you finally remembered that I am here. This function is incredible, even if I have no spiritual roots, I can still achieve cultivation." The guy on the other side continued to mock, "A useless person is indeed a useless person, trying to broaden his horizons in such a hurry. There will be a show to watch this year." Zhang Yijian replied to him with a sharp gaze, "Indeed, this year's disciple recruitment ceremony is more interesting." At this moment, the Tianyin sect was more crowded than ever. Countless people came here hoping to be accepted into the sect for cultivation. The disciple recruitment ceremony had also begun. Zhang Yijian quickly stepped forward and spoke, "I apologize for being late." As soon as they saw him, the other master peaks began to look at him with judgmental gazes. Some even spoke disdainfully, "I didn't expect that this useless person would actually show up. He came to be humiliated." The person next to him also mocked him. "Haha, let him through." Seeing that the person had arrived, the elder began the disciple selection ceremony. He said loudly, "All right, the Tianyin sect's 6th peak recruitment officially begins. Now, each of you will place your hand on the iron orb here, it will test your spiritual roots talent. If a disciple displays red, yellow, blue, or triangular light, they may become a disciple. Disciples with white light talent defects are not qualified to become disciples." As soon as the elder finished speaking, several iron orbs immediately flew in front of the crowd below. The elder asked once more, "Did you all hear me clearly?" The crowd below affirmed in unison, "Clear." Then, they followed the instructions and placed their hands on the orb. The elder excitedly shouted, "Good, let's start now." Immediately, the hall became a dazzling array of colors. Countless beams of colorful light directed towards the crowd. When they saw the orb in their hands emitting a colored light, they couldn't help but cheer. Mine is yellow, this is great. Mine is red, I'm not worried about being eliminated now. Elder looked pleased, stroking his mustache and said, I invite all disciples of red, yellow, and blue to begin choosing their masters. If you find a master you like, stand behind them. Each master peak can accept 9 people, and the number is limited. As soon as he finished speaking, a crowd surged forward like a swarm of bees, eagerly choosing their preferred masters. I want to go to Qian Master Peak, don't take my place. I want to be a disciple of Sun Master Peak. It was noisy like that, but beside Zhang Yi Jian there was no one, not even a fly. He looked around and pondered, feeling so disheartened that he didn't want to speak, while those people began to mock and ridicule. I said no one would be willing to choose him, truly embarrassing the old ancestor. At that moment, a girl suddenly spoke up. The girl's name was Zhao Yi Rong. She approached Zhang Yi Jian and gently asked, Can I take you as my master, Zhang Master Peak? Zhang Yi Jian, hearing this, could not contain his astonishment. He pointed to himself and asked again, Are you sure you want to take me as your master? Zhao Yi Rong replied shyly, I have social anxiety, I don't like being around many people, so. Zhang Yi Jian certainly did not refuse. He quickly turned to grab Zhao Yi Rong's hand and said, It's okay, as long as you want to take me as your master. But a second later, Zhao Yi Rong changed her expression. She looked at the hand grabbed by Zhang Yi Jian with disgust in her heart and thought, does he really think I care about a useless person? If it weren't for the peak 6th leaving the thunder vein of the old ancestor, I wouldn't even give a second thought to a useless person like you. But anyway, Zhang Yi Jian had gained a disciple. The system announced, Congratulations host on successfully receiving a disciple, rewards, Divine Level Skill Infinite Hand and Heavenly Shadow Body. Zhang Yi Jian's body was clearly enveloped in a flow of energy. Skill does not need to be cultivated, it will automatically succeed. Inside Zhang Yi Jian's body, it felt as if a fire was burning. He secretly rejoiced and thought, is this the feeling of gaining power? I want to repay all the humiliation I have endured. At that moment, Song Chang suddenly appeared and said to Zhao Yi Rong, Young lady, do you not know that he is a useless person with no spiritual roots? Following him is just wanting to ruin yourself, isn't it? Then the old man moved closer to Zhao Yi Rong and tempted her. Why not follow me? The trash collectors in our area are even stronger than him. Zhang Yi Jian frowned and approached to ask, Who are you calling a useless person? The old man replied sarcastically, What? A guy without spiritual roots, a useless person, who can only rely on his old ancestor for protection, and you don't want me to say so. Your old ancestor left you with peak 6th, but now your old ancestor has ascended. You'd be better off leaving. Zhang Yi Jian furrowed his brow tightly and growled, Say that again. The old man suddenly became bold in front of Zhang Yi Jian, pointing straight at his face with disdain, What's it to you if I say it again? A useless person is a useless person, you are a useless person, and you should get out of peak 6th. Zhang Yi Jian was not angry but closed his eyes tightly. A second later, he opened his eyes, and his body suddenly radiated a cold power. Without a moment's hesitation, he slapped Song Chang, who stumbled back, holding his face and yelling, You dare hit me? Zhang Yi Jian unemotionally replied, I did hit you, so what? Song Chang rushed at Zhang Yi Jian, wanting to attack him, shouting, looking for death. In response to Song Chang's punch, Zhang Yi Jian used Heavenly Shadow Body to dodge the blow. Seeing the scene in front of them, the crowd could not help but be stunned by Zhang Yi Jian's power. What is happening here? Where did that useless person go? It's impossible. The Song Master Peak has a cultivation at the Golden Elixir full circle, and that useless person doesn't even have spiritual roots. How could he possibly escape? Because Zhang Yi Jian's speed was too fast, Song Chang was also momentarily taken aback and stopped. What did that little guy just do? I didn't see it clearly. Before he could voice his doubts, Zhang Yi Jian appeared behind him. He shouted, Song Chang, today we will settle all our debts. He rushed forward and slapped the old man in the face again and said, This slap is for the humiliation you put me through. Zhang Yi Jian slapped him again. This slap is for daring to take my disciple. He threw Song Chang away and said, "And for this last slap." Zhang Yijian used a technique, jumped up, and rushed towards the old man, shouting, "I will personally send you to hell, think carefully down there." Song Chang was immediately crushed by Zhang Yijian's hand. Seeing this, Zhao Yirong could not help but exclaim in shock. Lei ancestor, this useless master will not affect our plan, right? The thing in the bag also replied, "It's a bit unexpectedly interesting, it's just that if he turns into a corpse like this, it will be even more interesting." The crowd was stunned by this scene, murmuring, "When did this little guy become so strong? Oh my, he must be hiding his true strength, deceiving all of us." Suddenly, a beam of light appeared from above, and a frantic voice rang out, "Zhang Yijian, how dare you kill fourth Master Peak, what a crime." Upon hearing this, Zhang Yijian could not help but turn around to see who had arrived. Immediately after, the sky suddenly changed, with many powerful thunderbolts appearing. Everyone was astonished at this scene. The Master Peak group whispered among themselves, is this the heaven-shattering thunder punishment of the Master? It is indeed the thunder punishment master, specifically used to punish Master Peaks who commit crimes. Looks like there's a good show to watch. From above, Tianyan sect master, Lei Hai also appeared, emanating an overwhelming aura. He scanned the scene looking for something, but ultimately did not find the target that had been struck. He began to doubt life and asked, where are they? Thunder punishment only punishes the soul, how can it harm life? At that moment, a noise came from behind Lei Hai. Zhang Yijian was brushing the dust off his clothes, then he pointed at his head and deliberately said, "Master, you attacked me without distinguishing right from wrong, isn't that a bit excessive?" Seeing that Zhang Yijian was completely unharmed, not even a scratch, Lei Hai couldn't hide his surprise as he exclaimed, "You, little guy, you weren't hurt at all." This scene caused the other peak masters to panic again, discussing the power of the thunder punishment. "Last year, the master punished me like this, it took me half a year to regain my spirit, how did he escape?" Outwardly calm, Zhang Yijian felt lucky inside. He silently told himself, "Fortunately, I have the shadow body of the system, or things would have turned out badly." Lei Hai quickly regained his composure and began to address the situation caused by Zhang Yijian, speaking in a serious tone, "Master Peak Tianyan sect killing a colleague, should I bring you a chair to sit on?" Zhang Yijian did not back down but instead spoke up to vindicate himself, "Master, he attacked me first, I was only defending myself. Is that also wrong?" Upon hearing this, the people on the other side began to whisper, it was indeed Song Master Peak who struck first. "I heard that Song Master Peak is the Master's nephew, and the Master dotes on him." Hearing the eyewitness speak up, Zhang Yijian calmly said to Lei Hai, "See, Master, just pretend you didn't see anything." Unable to refute, he could only snort coldly. Then Lei Hai turned away coldly and reminded, "Zhang Master Peak, from now on I will not protect you based on the situation, I hope you can take care of yourself." Before leaving, he loudly declared, "The ceremony for accepting disciples is over, all Master Peaks, take your disciples back to your peaks for training." Everyone stood up and replied respectfully, "Yes." Seeing Zhang Yijian's performance, Zhao Yirong couldn't help but change her perspective on him. She thought to herself, isn't Zhang Master Peak, as rumored, just a useless person? How could he be so formidable? Then Zhang Yijian turned to remind Zhao Yirong, "Disciple, the ceremony has ended, let's return to Tianyan Peak." Zhao Yirong eagerly replied, "Yes, Master." The two quickly left the scene of destruction together, heading back to the peak of Zhang Yijian. At this moment, the thing in Zhao Yirong's bag reminded her, "Yirong, our target is the thunder vein, let's steal it." Zhao Yirong asked, "What if we are discovered?" The thing in the bag reassured her, "What are you afraid of? Your master has not a trace of oppressive aura, most of the strength is useless." Soon after, it crawled out of Zhao Yirong's bag. Looking mysterious, it turned out to be just a cute little thing. It confidently said to Zhao Yirong, "I have many divine weapons, just using one small one can easily kill him." Upon arrival, Zhang Yijian opened the door to welcome his disciple, happily saying, "You're here. As soon as Zhang Yijian stepped into his domain, a radiant brilliance emitted immediately. Zhao Yirong couldn't help but be startled, while Dali, scared, quickly hid away. Looking at the little thing in her bag, her mind spun, and Zhao Yirong anxiously asked, "What's wrong, Dali?" At that moment it spoke up, "There is a divine weapon with a really strong aura in this room. I'm so stunned that I can't even breathe." Zhao Yirong, confused, hugged Dali and turned to observe, wondering to herself, "Is there a divine weapon here?" Zhang Yijian was still sitting by the fire, throwing skills into the furnace to keep warm, and cheerfully shared with her, "Come on, it's really cold over there, hurry over here to add some fire for the master." Zhao Yirong, without hesitation, ran over to where he indicated, saying, "Yes, master." Zhang Yijian casually handed a book to Zhao Yirong, telling her, "Here, burn some more to keep warm." Seeing clearly what she was holding, Zhao Yirong was so shocked that she screamed. Inside, she was shouting, "This is a divine level item." Zhao Yirong couldn't help but awkwardly ask, "Master, this is a divine level skill, can we really just burn it like this?" But he seemed unconcerned and responded calmly, "It's not worth anything, you can have as much as you want." Then Zhang Yijian pointed to the pile of books behind him, saying, "You look over there." At that moment, Zhao Yirong was even more shocked, silently screaming inside, "A divine level skill, and master treats it like garbage, this is too terrifying." Zhang Yijian generously offered to share, "If you like, take a few books to practice, after all, they're going to be burned anyway." Zhao Yirong asked excitedly, "Really?" Before she could hear the other's response, she jumped into the pile of skills, wanting to bury herself in it. Soon, Zhao Yirong found what she wanted, she surfaced happily and said, "Thank you, master." Zhao Yirong was surprised by the beam of golden light emitted before her. A moment later, she exclaimed, and her face turned an unusual shade of pink. She raised her hand to shield her eyes from the blinding light. Dali, standing on the side, was surrounded by a beam of purple light. It gaped in astonishment, thinking to itself, "This is truly a god, divine level skill. No wonder I felt the pressure the moment I stepped in, this is indeed a treasure trove." At that moment, Zhao Yirong felt uncomfortable in her body. Standing before the skill book, she couldn't help but exclaim, "I just glanced at it, and the skill is forcefully invading my body. I can't endure this much longer." As soon as she finished speaking, a sound of a moan escaped her lips, and in the next moment, she began to level up continuously. Refine Qi early stage, break. Refine mid-stage Qi, break. Refine late-stage Qi, break. Dali gasped, staring at her in amazement. Moments later, due to the rapid level up, Zhao Yirong fatigued and collapsed. Fortunately, Zhang Yijian was quick to catch her. With a calm expression, he asked, "Disciple, are you all right?" Her face flushed as she looked at him, "Master, I've broken through." Suddenly, a system notification flashed before their eyes. The host's disciple has successfully broken through, cultivation is being responded to. Zhang Yijian looked up at the system panel, resting his chin on his hand to read the content. Cultivation returns 100 times, congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the early stage of Golden Elixir. Character information, Zhang Yijian, age 20, cultivation early stage Golden Elixir, no innate talent, skill infinite hand, divine level skill, many information waiting to be unlocked. He unexpectedly raised his hand, murmuring softly, "Oh, early stage Golden Elixir." Seeing him in a daze for a moment, Zhao Yirong curiously asked, "Master, what's wrong?" He shook his head and replied, "No. I'm fine." Zhang Yijian coldly raised his hand, and a mysterious black sword appeared in his grasp. The cultivation of the disciple has just made a breakthrough, but the foundation is still unstable. You should go to the mysterious forest to train a bit. She looked at the sword thrown towards her and replied, "Yes, master." His gaze suddenly became deep, then flashed with a glimmer of light, thinking to himself, "The disciple causes me to continuously level up, it seems I need to find a few more disciples." Scene change, in a remote forest, a figure suddenly appeared, using lightness skill to leap over tall trees. A young boy, with determined eyes, smiled scornfully, thinking, Just now, an oppressive divine-level pressure emanated from over there. There must be a treasure emerging. He leaped up a tall tree, looking at the cottage in front of him, feeling joy and exclaiming, "It's right in front of me." The boy happily jumped down to the ground, running forward. He saw a barrier surrounding the house and laughed, "Ha ha," thinking, "I found it, it's inside." A moment later, from the palm of his hand, the young boy took out a deep purple sword, unable to hide his cunning expression. "My cultivation is against the heavens, I just lack a few magic weapons for self-defense. If someone dares to block me, I must kill them." With that, he grabbed the sword and rushed forward like the wind. Suddenly, from a nearby large tree, thick green vines appeared and lunged at him. 3 vines targeted his back and, in an instant, wrapped tightly around his body, restraining him. The young boy did not understand what was happening. He let out a few painful cries, tears streaming down his face, questioning himself, "What is this? This is a minor peak, why is there a divine tree?" Meanwhile, Zhang Yijian was comfortably lying down, reading the book in his hand, when he suddenly heard a loud "ah" from outside that echoed throughout the room. He was slightly surprised and wondered, "Oh, is something happening outside?" Zhang Yijian slowly stepped out the door, still bothered by the "ah" he had heard, thinking, "It's not even the new year yet, why is there already a pig slaughterhouse?" Outside, the young boy was being restrained by the vines, which kept hitting him on the backside. He cried out in pain, quickly pleading, "I know I was wrong, please spare me, tree immortal." Suddenly, his expression froze in place, and a moment later, he fell to the ground, almost breaking his jaw. He let out a yell of "ow." Zhang Yijian raised his hand to support his chin, leaned down to observe, and kindly asked, "Are you okay?" The young boy stared blankly at the person in front of him and asked, Who are you?" He reached out to hold the boy's hand and said, "Come to my mountain peak," then paused for a moment before bringing his face closer and continuing, "Are you making a joke asking me who I am?" The young boy was utterly shocked and thought to himself, "My mountain peak? Could it be that this little white face is actually the master of the peak?" He was helped up by him, his face unable to hide its ferocity as he thought, "Perfect, as long as I kill him, all the divine weapons in there will be mine." Having made the decision, he reached his other hand behind his back and quickly cast a body enlargement technique. A moment later, he triumphantly proclaimed, "Tremble, the era of my domination begins now." With that, he raised his foot high, intending to crush Zhang Yijian into the ground. Suddenly, behind him, Zhao Yirong appeared from nowhere, angrily drawing her sword and shouting, "Where did that thief come from?" As she rushed towards him, the summoned sword shattered instantly. Suddenly, she inhaled the white smoke from that guy, and Zhao Yirong's body reacted, letting out an uncomfortable sound. On Zhang Yijian's side, seeing his disciple inhaling the poison smoke, he panic shouted, "Don't." Suddenly, she gathered her strength and struck a powerful palm toward him. The force was immense. The young boy couldn't withstand it and was thrown 200 meters away, foaming at the mouth and losing consciousness. Zhao Yirong awkwardly scratched her nose and said, "Oh, I couldn't control my strength." Zhang Yijian walked over to his body, expressing regret as he sighed, "Ah, such a good disciple, what a pity." He gently touched the meridians of the young boy, his voice tinged with sadness, "It was so hard to get a disciple, why did he have to die? Is the path to becoming strong really this difficult for me?" Seeing her master like this, Zhao Yirong felt guilty and touched his face, saying, "Master, looking at his appearance, he seems to be the talented holy son of the Jiang family in Honghai City." He furrowed his brows and looked up, asking, "Talented holy son?" Ding dong, suddenly a system message appeared detecting the recruitment of a holy son. The host was urged to quickly go to Honghai City, the chosen one was inside the city. After reading, Zhang Yijian rested his chin on his hand, his pupils slightly contracting as he said, "The genius holy son of Honghai City is dead, could it be that the system made a mistake? Well, I'll figure it out when I get to Honghai City." With that, he used his lightness skill to soar away. Before going too far, he left a reminder. "It's cold, so add some firewood, master is going out for training, you cultivate well." Seeing this, she and Dali exchanged knowing glances and replied, "Yes. On Zhang Yijian's side, he calmly gazed at the scene below and thought, Honghai City is 100 miles away from here. Fortunately, I am now at the golden elixir stage. I can travel 1,000 miles in a day. He flew calmly towards the magnificent city ahead, when suddenly on the way, a woman in purple was being subdued by a man in white, seemingly about to take her life. He looked at her viciously and said, Jiang Yiyun, the Holy Sun has cultivated the heavenly law, the earth is like a divine shadow. The next moment, he grabbed the dagger from behind and charged at her, lying helplessly there. Before making his move, he mocked her, saying, a waste of family resources like you doesn't deserve to exist. Slash. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck between the two. Jiang Yiyun let out a terrified, ah, and quickly turned to dodge the next blow. She lay on the ground, looking quite pitiful, while everyone gathered around to watch the spectacle unfold. Suddenly, an old bald man stomped on her, continuously spewing brainwashing words, Yun, stop resisting. The Holy Sun is the son of the family master. No matter how talented you are, you cannot achieve anything. Out of consideration for you being of the same clan, cripple your meridians and leave the Jiang family. She angrily shouted, Jiang Dengtian secretly consumed the golden elixir, are you all blind? He and two others yelled in anger, you have a lot of nerve to directly call the Holy Sun's name. This is rebellion, bring her down quickly and tear her apart for me. Everyone stood together watching Jiang Yiyun being brought to the arena, voices clamoring, if you're of the same clan, don't blame us. Stop wasting words, start the formation. First, subdue the demons and exorcise the spirits. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered, accompanied by powerful bolts of lightning. A man dressed in white appeared in the sky, shouting loudly, stop. An elder spoke up, who dares to flaunt their power in the Jiang family? The man in white stood with his hands behind his back and confidently introduced himself, I am Lei Busi. The two elders were stunned. One long-haired elder, visibly shaken, asked, Lei Busi, from the Lei Ting sect? Lei Busi replied casually, it seems your little clan has some insight to recognize me. The elder quickly humbled himself, asking nervously, what brings Lei young master here? Lei Busi pointed to Jiang Yiyun, who was lying on the ground, and asked, how much for her? Sell her to me. This thunder accumulation could help me take another step forward. The bald elder stammered in shock, this, Lei Busi's gaze darkened as he glanced at them, not much progress. Sell her to me, and I'll owe you a favor. The bald elder forced a smile and humbly replied, if Lei young master says so, I cannot refuse. But inside him, he was quietly calculating, first, there was the Holy Sun who grasped the magical talent, now with the Lei Ting sect protecting him, from now on, Honghai City will be under the control of the Jiang family. Jiang Yiyun struggled to get up and angrily said, I would rather die than let you achieve anything. He angrily pointed at Jiang Yiyun and shouted, shut up, quickly go along with Lei young master and contribute your final efforts for our Jiang family. She trembled as she stood up, ignoring the electric shock still coursing through her body, and quickly ran away. Seeing this, Lei Busi sneered and said, humph, trying to run away. She was shocked and turned her head to look at him. Lei Busi moved swiftly, snorted coldly, and asked her, still want to run? Jiang Yiyun tilted her head, a bit surprised, and in an instant, Lei Busi had moved behind her. He struck directly at her thin back with one hand, while shouting, hurry and hand over the thunder accumulation. Jiang Yiyun cried out in pain and fell to the ground. Zhang Yijian watched this scene inside, saying, is this what the chosen disciple looks like? So pitiful. Following that, he stepped forward and kindly helped Jiang Yiyun up. Lei Busi, seeing this, quickly took advantage of the situation and confidently shouted, just in time, I don't have to lift a finger. You help me extract the thunder accumulation from her and bring it here. However, Zhang Yijian paid no attention to Lei Busi and instead gently asked for Jiang Yiyun's name. Upon hearing this, her face flushed red, and she weakly replied, my name is Jiang Yiyun. Zhang Yijian's expression showed no change, and he coldly complimented her name. Then he continued to probe, do you want to continue living? Upon hearing this, Jiang Yiyun helplessly responded, for me, right now, it is a distant hope. Just then, Zhang Yijian quickly made a proposal, all right, if you acknowledge me as your master now, I will allow you to live. Jiang Yiyun was momentarily dazed, and then she clasped her hands together in front of her and exclaimed, Yiyun pays respect to the master. The overseer elder, witnessing this scene, couldn't help but mockingly respond, where did this little guy come from, talking nonsense? Didn't you hear Lord Lei? Bring it here quickly. The Qian master peak standing behind Lei Busi stroked his chin and kindly said, Lei young master. The person we know is Zhang Yijian, the master peak of Tianyan sect, who was born with no spiritual roots and is a useless person. Upon hearing this, Lei Busi couldn't help but cover his mouth and laugh mockingly, so he is the master peak of Tianyan sect, Zhang Yijian. At that moment, the overseer elder shifted his stance for a martial arts duel and promised, Lei young master, rest assured. Meanwhile, he thought to himself, if you are a useless person, then let you become the stepping stone on the path of my Jiang family. Immediately after, a layer of spiritual weapons appeared around the overseer elder. He charged toward Zhang Yijian, shouting loudly, I personally came to collect thunder accumulation, and if I accidentally injure a few blind people, I can only apologize. Those around him burst into laughter upon hearing this. Jiang Yiyun anxiously looked at Zhang Yijian and suggested, Master, I can still use the power of lightning one more time, let's go together. Meanwhile, the overseer elder rushed in, smugly shouting, Today, even if the King of Heaven comes, he won't be able to save you. A hand made of golden spiritual weapon descended from the sky toward Zhang Yijian and Jiang Yiyun. Zhang Yijian calmly raised his hand, creating a purple spiritual weapon. This was the ultimate skill infinite hand, a beam of purple light piercing straight up to the sky, hitting the golden yellow hand. The overseer elder hadn't even had time to understand what was happening when a fiery red hand suddenly lunged at him. With a shrill scream, that hand struck the overseer elder violently, flattening him. Bright red fragments, as hot as lava, flew everywhere. The group of Lei Busi couldn't help but watch this scene in horror. Yet, Zhang Yijian simply frowned slightly and said, It seems that the King of Heaven doesn't have time to save us, so the master can only save himself. Jiang Yiyun, both amazed and admiring, said, Master turns out to be so powerful. The crowd that had been watching the spectacle earlier was now like a disturbed hive of bees, frantically shouting, Who said he is a useless person? He took down the overseer elder with just one move. How is that like a useless person? At this moment, Lei Busi offered, Minor art of the puppet, my friend, thunder accumulation is the key breakthrough for me, so give way, and from now on, Lei Busi will protect you. Hearing this, Zhang Yijian snorted coldly. The air around him also dropped to a freezing point. Zhang Yijian's eyes suddenly burst into flames. A tone of disdain arose. Turn me into your little brother, then I want to see what your real strength is. Immediately, Lei Busi was naturally provoked by his words. He clasped his hands in front of him, his teeth clenched tightly, emitting a few heavy sounds. Then, he slammed both hands down onto the ground. This was the ultimate move, Eternal Night Dark Thunder. A powerful spiritual weapon radiated out, resembling agile arrows racing toward Zhang Yijian. Zhang Yijian reached out to embrace Jiang Yiyun's waist. She wrapped her arms tightly around his neck, watching him use powerful spiritual energy to activate Heavenly Shadow Body. Instantly, the two thick strands of spiritual energy from Zhang Yijian and Lei Busi collided, causing the surrounding space to tremble significantly. Lei Busi was enveloped in the layer of lightning brought by the spiritual energy. He smirked and whispered, Ha, it's just a clown dancing around. The people below could not help but exclaim in awe at this magnificent scene. Is this the thunder skill of the Lei Ting sect? It's too extraordinary. That little guy is a worthy opponent for Lei young master. It's true that he has no eyes, and the corpse has been completely beaten up. But their joy was quickly extinguished when the dust from the aftermath dispersed. Zhang Yijian suddenly emerged from the fog, with a few remaining sparks of lightning still around his body. At that moment, he was still carrying Jiang Yiyun and slowly opened his mouth to call out, Hey, I'm not dead yet, are you all in such a hurry to celebrate? The crowd that had been cheering quickly changed their attitude. As soon as they saw Zhang Yijian's figure, they exclaimed in astonishment, "Oh my God, he's still alive. How is that possible? How could he avoid that thunder skill?" But Lei Busi, on the other side, seemed unaffected. Instead, he smirked and said, "Little guy, no wonder you dared to boast like that. I underestimated you." After hearing his words, Zhang Yijian immediately set Jiang Yiyun down and instructed, "You rest for a while now. Wait for me to deal with that guy, then I'll take you back to the sect." Jiang Yiyun looked at the back of the person in front of her as he slowly walked toward Lei Busi, and she raised her voice in concern, telling him to be careful. Lei Busi seemed to be using all of his strength at this moment. Surrounding his body were layers of blue lightning. He shouted confidently at Zhang Yijian, talking nonsense without shame, "Just now I only used 50% of my cultivation, this time I won't hold back." Having said that, he quickly raised his fist towards Zhang Yijian and simultaneously shouted excitedly, "Die!" Zhang Yijian closed his eyes to feel, then suddenly opened them, with a cold gleam of evil energy flickering in his pupils. Zhang Yijian struck hard on Lei Busi's back, making him bend over and spit out some red blood from his throat. At this moment, Lei Busi noticed a long streak of blood appearing on his abdomen. He couldn't believe it and stammered, how could this happen?" Before the onlookers could react, Lei Busi was already lying at Zhang Yijian's feet. His eyes were white, indicating that he had lost consciousness. Zhang Yijian looked down at the person beneath him and said, "Now do you know who was bragging?" After dealing with everything, Zhang Yijian did not hesitate to grab Jiang Yiyun's arm and said, "Disciple, follow master home." Jiang Yiyun was in a daze, and upon hearing his voice, she instinctively responded with a "yes." After finishing his words, Zhang Yijian and Jiang Yiyun quickly took a leap and flew directly into the sky. The people below seemed to have regained their senses and suddenly began to buzz with speculation. Am I seeing things? Is he really the useless person Zhang Yijian? Someone quickly confirmed that he was indeed Zhang Yijian, merely a rumor had spread before. If he is a useless person, then we are even more useless than a useless person. Over there, Zhang Yijian and Jiang Yiyun quickly arrived at their destination. He reminded the people behind him that from now on, this is his home. As soon as they landed, Zhang Yijian leisurely raised his voice, "Yi Rong, I have brought back a junior sister, hurry up and welcome her." Zhao Yirong quickly appeared, her voice filled with excitement, "Master, you've taken on a disciple again." Ignoring the attitude of his senior disciple, Zhang Yijian widened his eyes in surprise, looking at the empty room in front of him. Seeing the strange reaction of her master, Zhao Yirong quickly asked, "What's wrong, master?" He pondered for a moment and then slowly replied, "Strange, where is the pile of trash I threw here? I still need it tonight to keep warm." Upon hearing this, Zhao Yirong's attitude suddenly became bright. She put on an innocent face and replied, "I don't know." But as soon as she finished speaking, a stack of books fell out from her sleeve, betraying her. The scene was quite awkward. Zhao Yirong slowly glanced at her master's expression, with a smile that was hard to maintain. But she quickly picked up the books from the ground and blushed while explaining, "Master, don't misunderstand, I'm your disciple, it's reasonable to take a bit of skill and a magic weapon, right?" Zhang Yijian found it hard to refute Zhao Yirong, so he chuckled and scratched his head, repeatedly saying, "That's reasonable." Then, a thought suddenly struck Zhang Yijian, prompting him to swiftly grab a book from her pile and say, "That's right, I just accepted a new disciple and haven't given a welcome gift yet." With a friendly smile, Zhang Yijian held the book out in front of Jiang Yiyun and said, "Yiyun, you have the thunder accumulation talent, this skill is not only suitable for you but also complements your skills, take it and practice." Jiang Yiyun blushed as she looked at the book, her eyes filled with light. Her voice was full of astonishment as she stammered, "Master, this is a divine-level skill." Seeing her reaction, Zhao Yirong smiled and said, "When I first received the inheritance, I felt the same way as you." Zhang Yijian, catching the atmosphere, patted Jiang Yiyun on the shoulder and said with a reassuring tone, "Practice well, whatever you want, the master can give you." The divine level skill is just to help you accede to the sect. Hearing this, Jiang Yiyun was moved to tears and exclaimed, "Oh my, master, are you a deity?" Zhang Yijian immediately felt embarrassed and scratched his head, complimenting her, "Disciple, you have quite a sense of humor." The scene shifts to Tianyan sect. Lei Hai rested his hands on the table, seemingly in disbelief as he stammered, "What? Zhang Yijian killed Lei Busi by himself?" Qian Master Peak immediately confirmed, "That's right, this news has already spread." Sun Master Peak stood beside and immediately made a conjecture. Lei Busi has reached the peak of foundation establishment, just a bit more and he will achieve golden elixir. He was killed by Zhang Yijian, so isn't Zhang Yijian already a golden elixir? After hearing this, Lei Hai pondered for a moment, then slowly said, "Strange, is Zhang Yijian pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger? Intentionally hiding?" Qian Master Peak heard him and raised his hand in agreement, affirming loudly, "It must be so." Qian Master Peak rubbed his chin, looking serious and calculating, "But the talented disciple Lei Busi from Lei Ting sect, his death will surely not be tolerated by Lei Ting sect. What if?" Lei Hai immediately raised his hand to interrupt Qian Master Peak, "There is no what if. If Lei Ting sect seeks revenge, we must use all our strength to protect Zhang Yijian." Qian Master Peak murmured in confusion, "Protect?" Lei Hai, with a distant gaze and a hint of pride, said, "Indeed, strong golden elixir reflects the strength of each sect. Moreover, Zhang Master Peak is still so young, a future in art. If he works hard for Tianyan sect will rise to the top sect once again." Master Peak, the Baldy, stroked his beard in agreement and said, "Master makes sense." Another Master Peak beside him spoke up, "I also concur." Suddenly, a loud voice came from outside, "Lei Hai, come out here now." Upon hearing this, Lei Hai frowned in annoyance, "Just finished talking, now I'm bothering the sect leader." After saying that, he quickly moved to the door, going outside to see who is causing trouble. In the sky, Kumu Elder from Lei Ting sect, along with his disciples, rode on clouds towards them. Leaning on his staff, he questioned, "Lei Hai, your disciple from Tianyan sect has intentionally slaughtered innocent people. Are they about to step into the devil's way, opposing the righteous sects?" Lei Hai looked up with a surprised expression, "It's Kumu Elder from Lei Ting sect." He quickly regained his composure, politely clasped his hands and bowed, speaking softly, "Kumu Elder, I just heard about that too. Please calm down, let's discuss it inside." Standing before Kumu Elder and the disciples of Lei Ting sect, Lei Hai carefully demonstrated his sincerity, "Tianyan sect is willing to compensate." Upon hearing this, Kumu Elder became furious, striking the wooden staff in his hand and shouted, "Who wants your damn compensation?" Kumu Elder clenched his fist and said harshly, "Hurry and hand over the evil creature that has fallen into the demon path, and carry out the law right here." Lei Hai frowned in thought. It seemed that the Lei Ting sect was preparing to bite Zhang Yijian to death. He absolutely could not let it happen as they wished. Lei Hai summoned his spiritual energy, his eyes brightened, his tone extremely resolute, no longer polite as before. "Zhang Yijian is the Master Peak of our sect, he is not something that can be casually handed over." Kumu Elder also responded with fierce determination. "Humph, if you don't want to cooperate, then I guess I'll have to retrieve him myself," Lei Hai replied rudely. A massive circle of energy began to appear. "Are you saying no one dares to bully our Tianyan sect?" The two great powers clashed, creating a violent earthquake, like a gigantic fire raging fiercely, rays of light radiating in all directions striking the rocks behind the mountain. Zhang Yijian was concentrating on his cultivation. A piece of spiritual energy suddenly fell down in the secluded courtyard, causing him to wake up and look at the powerful piece of spiritual energy falling down, creating a loud noise. Zhang Yijian felt a bit anxious, "Not good, something is happening inside the sect." His feet were pushed back, losing his balance. Sun Master Peak and Qian Master Peak were worried and quickly supported Lei Hai Master. Lei Hai, exhausted and severely injured, said, "This guy's strength is extraordinary, I'm afraid we can't hold on." Ku Mu Elder, filled with evil energy, warned, "Lay Hai, I give you one more chance, hand over Zhang Yi Jian. Otherwise, I will destroy your entire sect." Lei Hai held the wound on his arm, tense. "Damn it, don't exaggerate." Qian Master Peak was extremely worried. "What should we do? If we keep fighting, we won't win." Suddenly, a deep voice echoed, "Old man, are you looking for me?" Zhang Yi Jian gently landed down. Ku Mu Elder looked at the person in front of him, a bit suspiciously said, "I heard Zhang Yi Jian is quite young, so it can't be you, right?" He humorously pointed to himself and replied, "I am indeed named Zhang Yi Jian. Compared to you, I am still quite young and handsome." Confirming the right person, the Ku Mu Elder immediately attacked. "Indeed, it is you, let me help you maintain the handsomeness of today forever." Under the Elder's power, 3 giant fire dragons with sharp claws surrounded Zhang Yi Jian. He was a bit surprised by this tremendous power. This oppression, he turned out to be a strong golden elixir. With a bang, Zhang Yi Jian was instantly hurled away by a red beam of light. He frowned, somewhat astonished by this source of strength. He was pushed against the wall by the beam, seeming like he would be incinerated. Ku Mu Elder voice lightly scorned, "How disappointing, I thought you were very strong. Indeed, just as rumored, you are trash." Qian Master Peak panicked, "Oh no, Zhang Yi Jian won't." Lei Hai exclaimed in shock, "Is he dead?" From the crumbling wall, a foot stepped out lightly. He stood there unharmed, looking calm and proud, rubbing his head. "That was quite a headache, this new hairstyle almost got ruined." The Ku Mu Elder seemed quite surprised and assessed, "You took my hit and didn't die. The little guy, you seem to be better than the others of the same age." Zhang Yi Jian covered his face, and his eyes suddenly lit up mysteriously. "System, help me check this old man's real cultivation." The system acknowledged the command and said, "Received, please take a look." After a thorough analysis of Elder Ku Mu, a notification appeared, "Mid-golden elixir." Zhang Yi Jian frowned, genuinely worried. "Mid-golden elixir? Higher than me by 1 whole level. This is a bit troublesome." He stroked his chin and smiled thoughtfully, "Luckily, with the system, I can hold on a bit." On the opposite side, Elder Ku Mu's eyes were bloodshot, filled with evil energy, ready to charge forward. "Little guy, the more you resist, the happier I become." A fire dragon rushed out, this time the old man's power was even stronger, flames surrounding Zhang Yi Jian. He clenched his fists, not in the least afraid. "Watch out for your bones, old man." With that, he kicked toward the old man. Elder Ku Mu quickly used his staff to block, still very pleased with himself. "You think you can rely on yourself?" At that moment, he immediately commanded the system. "System, now please respond to my disciple's cultivation." Very quickly, the system announced, "Ting, as desired, spiritual weapon cultivation returns 1,000 times." As reported, Zhang Yi Jian's spiritual energy surged dramatically in an instant. Streams of red and green true qi enveloped him, creating a circle of power. "Ting, congratulations host, you have increased your cultivation to the golden elixir stage." Having successfully leveled up, he quickly counterattacked. Zhang Yi Jian struck with one palm, breaking the staff of Ku Mu Elder, whose piercing scream echoed. He struck again, hitting the elder in a vulnerable spot, causing Ku Mu Elder to cough up blood. Immediately, he was blasted away by Zhang Yi Jian's power. Ku Mu Elder lay motionless on the ground, painfully coughing. The disciples of Lei Ting's sect rushed over in concern. Elder, are you okay?" Lei Hai and the master peaks of Tianyan's sect stared in shock. Everyone was astonished. He broke through to the middle stage of golden elixir, in the same realm, and with a single strike. Zhang Yi Jian, handsome and elegant, was extremely satisfied. "My disciple, you are truly powerful. I have accumulated a lot of spiritual energy thanks to your cultivation. When I return, I will favor you all greatly." Ku Mu, the frail old man, stood up. "Little guy, do you still know how to hide your cultivation? You have the qualifications for me to value you." Zhang Yi Jian clasped his hands behind his back, speaking softly and without any politeness. "Old man, if you don't want to die, get lost now. If not, I will tear your bones apart right now. Kumu stood firm and unyielding. Little guy, you surely don't think you are invincible, do you? Saying that, he raised his finger as if summoning something. Our Lei Ting sect has many ways to deal with you. From the dark clouds, something emerged, a sharp sword emitting countless powerful lightning bolts. A scream echoed, the sword is coming. This, Lei Hai anxiously recognized, is that the heaven demon sword of the Lei Ting sect. Qian Master Peak was equally horrified. It is said that the heaven demon sword is the most precious treasure of the Lei Ting sect, capable of killing that yawning old monster. I never expected it to appear here. The triumphant tone of Kumu Elder rang out, Zhang Yi Jian, let's see if you can survive this time. He glanced with a wicked smile, what a pathetic trick, it's just a pile of flames falling down. The sword descended right at Zhang Yi Jian's position, but he still stood still. A loud noise erupted, boom, a deafening explosion occurred, dust swirling everywhere. The sword remained intact, embedded deep in the ground, surrounded by shattered stones. Kumu Elder arrogantly stroked his head and coldly snorted, if you had begged for mercy, I might have spared you. The old man suddenly widened his eyes and shouted loudly, Lei Busi, I have avenged your great hatred for you. Lost in the joy of avenging a deep grudge, he did not know that Zhang Yi Jian had appeared behind him, raising the sword high. A stroke of the sword took Kumu Elder's life. Zhang Yi Jian retrieved the sword to his back and said, oh dear, I struck too hard, I didn't give you a chance to beg for mercy. The disciples of Lei Ting's sect could not believe their eyes, they were in stunned amazement questioning themselves. How could this happen? How did he manage to dodge the heaven demon sword? Has Elder Kumu really died? Zhang Yi Jian turned to the group and coldly told them, go back and tell your master that I welcome you all to challenge me, and I will go a little easier on you. He shouted, get lost. The group cried out in fear to each other, run quickly. Lei Hai was also astonished and exclaimed, what kind of monster is this little guy? Not only did he dodge the heaven demon sword, but he was also able to kill Elder Kumu. Zhang Yi Jian quietly approached Lei Hai, humbly bowed his head, and respectfully said, thank you for your protection, Lei Master. I am very grateful. Lei Hai replied, you're being too polite, we're all part of the same family. Master Qian spoke up, Zhang Master, you've hidden yourself really well. Your cultivation is already at the mid-stage of the golden elixir. Zhang Yi Jian smiled and replied, I haven't tried to hide it, but the situation is indeed a bit special. Lei Hai praised him, you are truly a talented individual, I've decided to grant you the qualification to enter the Xianin Pavilion. Zhang Yi Jian asked again, Xianin Pavilion? Qian Master Peak excitedly explained, Xianin Pavilion is the place where the divine weapons of Tian Yen sect are stored. It is filled with heavenly treasures, a place not everyone can enter. Lei Hai smiled in agreement, that's right, but I will make an exception this once, to let you enter and choose one of the heavenly divine weapons. The other disciples in the sect exclaimed, wow, can you really get a heavenly divine weapon? The sect master is so generous. I have been in the sect for over 30 years and have never entered the Xianin Pavilion, let alone received a heavenly divine weapon. Zhang Yi Jian asked Lei Hai, are heavenly divine weapons very powerful? He replied, of course, divine weapons are divided into different levels, mystical, earthly, heavenly, kingly, holy, and divine. From heavenly level and above, they are all supreme treasures of the sect. Hearing this, Zhang Yi Jian turned around casually and said, oh, then I don't need it. He thought to himself, I still have a divine weapon at home that I haven't even used yet, so what's the point of taking a heavenly level one? I don't even have a place to keep it. The other disciples gaped in astonishment, scratching their heads and lamenting, what? You don't even need to give a divine weapon of the highest level? Is there something wrong with your head? Zhang Yi Jian was walking with his hands behind his head, saying goodbye to Lei Hai, Master, thank you for your kindness, but I have to go back now. Suddenly, he stepped awkwardly into thin air and fell face first to the ground, exclaiming, ouch, in pain. Zhang Yi Jian angrily looked at a large hole in the floor, rubbed his head, and furiously asked, what the hell is this? Why is there a chunk missing from this step? Lei Hai, half laughing and half crying, told him, oh, that was lost during the fight earlier. Zhang Yijian recalled, oh right, it was done by me, wasn't it? He then took a stone out of his bag and said, I'm really sorry, I will fix it right now. He cheerfully jumped to the hole in the floor, placed the stone into the gap, and an aura immediately spread all around. The people around hurriedly covered their eyes. Zhang Yijian shouted, it's done. In the blink of an eye, the floor had been repaired without a single crack. Everyone there was astonished. Lei Hai also gaped in surprise. Why is the aura of this stone so strange? Qian Master Peak hurriedly added, that's right, I feel a strong sense of oppression, I feel my whole body trembling when I see it. Zhang Yijian waved goodbye to Lei Hai once again. Master, I should take my leave now, goodbye. He slowly walked away, and everyone was astonished to see the aura behind him manifesting a white tiger's face. The white tiger opened its mouth wide, revealing 4 sharp fangs. Lei Hai and Qian Master Peak fearfully clung to each other. Damn, I understand now, this is the aura of a divine weapon of divine level. No way, that little guy actually used a divine weapon of divine level as a brick. Returning to Tianyan Peak, Zhang Yijian pushed the door open and called out, disciple, I'm back. He was startled to find the inside silent and still, with items scattered all over the floor. He wondered, hey, where is everyone? Suddenly, a shrill scream rang out from a closed room. He exclaimed loudly, oh no, that's Yirong's voice. He hurriedly opened the door and asked, disciple, are you okay? In a rush, Zhang Yijian saw Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun with flushed faces. Zhao Yirong was screaming non-stop, AAA. He didn't understand what was happening. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun clutched their chests, shouting loudly, I can't stand it anymore. Me too, I'm about to lose it. At that moment, they were breaking through the early stage of foundation establishment, reaching the peak of qi refinement. They couldn't help but scream, ah. Zhang Yijian held his head inside in relief, oh, so it's just training. He clasped his hands behind his back, stepped outside, and said to himself while laughing, turns out I worried for nothing. Zhao Yirong called him back, Master, please stay. He turned to look at her and asked, huh? What's the matter? Zhao Yirong made a request, Master, I have a favor to ask, I hope you grant it. Suddenly, she knelt down on the ground, pleading, I would like to go down the mountain for a trip, I hope you will allow it. Zhang Yijian smiled happily, is that all? If you want to go, then just go. I am not jailers, Zhao Yirong beamed with a bright smile and exclaimed. Thank you, Master. He suggested to Zhao Yirong, recently, I don't have much to do, so let's go down the mountain together tomorrow. Hearing this, her eyes widened with joy, but she hesitated to say, this. Zhang Yijian noticed her attitude and asked, what's wrong? Don't you want to? She shyly explained, since escaping from marriage and entering the Tianyan sect, I have always wanted to become stronger and not be bullied. Now that I have a master, what do I need to worry about? She clasped her hands in front of Zhang Yijian and formally invited him with a bright smile, therefore, it is truly an honor to invite Master to visit my home. Zhang Yijian happily laughed, aha, that's reasonable. He turned and walked toward his room, instructing Zhao Yirong, you should rest tonight, we'll set off early tomorrow. She immediately shouted, understood. Early the next morning, the rooster crowed, waking everyone. Zhang Yijian woke up, stretched and yawned, is it already morning? He rubbed his eyes and looked at the system bulletin board. Ting, the time for the daily lottery has come. On the system board, a gift box appears. One hand covers his mouth as he yawns, sigh, it's time for the lottery again. With one hand, he presses on the gift box, and when it opens, a paper puppet appears. A divine-level treasure, it can randomly summon someone stronger than the host. It can be used once a day, and the cooldown time is 24 hours. Zhang Yijian, while putting on his clothes, sighed, indeed it's another divine level, so boring. After getting ready, he went to Zhao Yirong's room, knocking on the door while muttering, I still have to find my apprentice. Opening the door, Zhao Yirong was already prepared to set off. Master, let's get going. Zhang Yijian exclaimed, you woke up pretty early, huh? The two of them began their journey. He excitedly shouted, "Let's go, let's set off." As they walked, the two chatted. "Yi-rong, tell me, what's your home like?" Zhao Yi-rong replied, "Yes, master." Bang, the sound of a metal hammer hitting the door. Outside, a group of fierce-looking people stood. Chao Yong, holding a fan, stood in the middle and said, "Zhao family master, why haven't you come out to greet your guests yet?" The Zhao family master and his family stood up to stop him. He explained to Chao Yong, "Chao young master, I don't know what to do about my daughter escaping from the marriage, why do you have to act like this?" He arrogantly ignored the man's words, saying, "The woman I, Chao Yong, wanted has escaped because of you, this should have a conclusion, right?" The Zhao family master asked him, "What kind of conclusion do you want?" Chao Yong opened the fan in his hand, covering his mouth with it, revealing sharp, cold eyes as he said, "Use your life to make up for your crime." Zhao Butler was stunned, "What? Don't joke with me," Chao Yong retorted, "Do you see me joking?" Immediately, Chao Yong's thugs, armed with weapons, surrounded the Zhao family master and his family. The Zhao family master exclaimed, "Chao Yong, don't go too far." On the contrary, Chao Yong felt pleased, "What if I oppress you? This is my territory." He commanded his men, "Charge, bring me the head of the Zhao family master." The Zhao family master frowned in suspicion. "What? Are you not joking?" Chao Yong's subordinates charged forward without saying a word. He disdainfully let them rush towards the people in front of him and said, "Do I look like I'm joking?" The master of the Zhao family retorted, "Chao Yong, don't you dare bully people excessively." He sneered in response, "What will you do if I do? This is all the territory of my Chao family." The subordinates excitedly shouted to each other, "Let's go, bring back the head of the Zhao family master." The subordinates of the Zhao family master cautiously entered the fray, reminding their comrades to protect the family master. A battle broke out immediately, with both sides fighting fiercely without yielding. The sounds of serious injuries echoed continuously. It didn't take long for the protective barrier around the Zhao family master to weaken. Chao Yong's subordinates seized the opportunity to rush towards him, shouting, "We must kill him." Naturally, the Zhao family master could not withstand the relentless assault from his opponents. He barely managed to block a strike from the left with his bare hands. On the right, someone had joined forces to deliver a fatal stab to his right shoulder, and Zhao Yi-rong's father was severely injured, kneeling on the ground. He trembled all over, crying out in pain. A heartless schemer appeared. Just as the Zhao family master slumped down, he lunged for his sword and shouted, "You will die." The strike of the sword was suddenly halted. From somewhere came a voice that interrupted, "Stop." Zhao Yi-rong and Zhang Yi-jian arrived just in time in the dangerous situation. The girl, extremely panicked, rushed to stop the thug. "Quickly let my father go." Chao Yong, seeing a familiar face, exclaimed in surprise, "Zhao Yi-rong." The Zhao family master clutched his severely injured shoulder, and in a stern voice reminded his daughter, "Daughter, why are you here? Hurry and run away." Zhao Yi-rong, feeling aggrieved, ran to her father and whimpered, "Father, if I didn't come back, you would have died." The father replied sternly, "What does it matter if I die? As long as you are safe, that's all that matters." Chao Yong approached the two of them and said, "Zhao Yi-rong, at first you were escaping from marriage, I guess you are thinking about the consequences now." He sneered, extending his hand to taunt her, "Now that you are back, I can let this go. Just obediently come back with me." Zhao Yi-rong disgustedly stepped back, avoiding his dirty hand. She straightened up and slapped him hard, her voice full of contempt. "You dog, are you dreaming?" Chao Yong held his aching cheek, trembling in agitation, his fingers trembling as he pointed at Zhao Yi-rong, cursing, You dare to hit me?" Then he ordered his subordinates, "Where are you? Kill them all for me, leave not a single one alive." They responded with a loud, "Yes," and then prepared to rush forward. Zhao Yi-rong stood her ground, affirming, "I am now a disciple of the Tianyan sect, so go ahead and try to kill me." Chao Yong, unimpressed by her words, replied, "Tianyan sect? Kill her." Zhang Yijian no longer stood by as a bystander, he ready to strike. In an instant, he blinked behind Chao Yong, stretching out his arms to seize him. Immediately, Zhang Yijian slammed him down to the ground with speed and strength, saying, "You dare to touch my disciple and insult my Tianyan sect." His head was directly attacked by a stranger, and he screamed desperately, "You want to die, don't you?" He used his strength to lift Chao Yong's head up, the speed so fast it made him dizzy and he gasped. The subordinates rushed in wanting to ambush and catch him, eagerly calling for their young master. Zhang Yijian sternly threatened, "Don't come over here, or I'll take your young master's life." Chao Yong, being overthrown, stubbornly tried to fight back and cursed, "Damn it, who are you to lay a hand on me? I am the young master of the Chao family." Zhang Yijian coldly replied, "What is the Chao family? You touched the family of my disciple, and today you will pay the price." Chao Yong struggled to break free, saying, "Let me go, or you'll face the consequences." Zhang Yijian nearly lost his patience and slapped him hard, knocking out a front tooth, then shouted, "Are you talking so much, huh?" Chao Yong trembled in humiliation from being turned over. He took out his emergency summoning item and laughed, "You bastard, just because the old tiger doesn't show its power, do you think I'm a sick cat?" He raised it high, his eyes radiating ultimate fury. Saying this, Chao Yong knelt down and shouted loudly, calling for help, "Elder, save me." In the sky, a chaotic display of thunder and lightning erupted, with blue flashes of light spreading across an incredibly captivating area. Xiao Elder appeared, imposing like an immortal thunder god. His gaze sparkled with serious lightning, and he was surrounded by multiple bolts of thunder. He glared and spoke gruffly, "Chao Yong, why have you summoned me?" Chao Yong quickly knelt and pleaded, "Xiao Elder, someone wants to kill me, please lend your assistance." Hearing this, Xiao Elder became somewhat angry and leaned down to ask, "Who wishes to kill you?" Chao Yong quickly pointed at Zhang Yijian, accusing him, "It's him." Xiao Elder followed the direction of his finger and asked, "Little guy, I do not kill nameless people, state your name, and I will spare you." Zhang Yijian replied arrogantly, "Tianyan sect, Zhang Yijian." Hearing this, Xiao Elder's eyes relaxed a bit, and he said, "Tianyan sect." He let out a strange laugh and shouted, "What a small world. The Tianyan sect killed Lei Busi, my junior brother. I never expected to meet you here today." Zhang Yijian crossed his arms and sneered. "It was me who killed Lei Busi, and I also killed Kumu Elder, so what? Are you here to seek revenge?" Hearing this, Chao Yong slammed the ground in anger and shouted, "Is it you who killed him?" He frowned and gritted his teeth, "How could this be? Kumu Elder is ranked among the top 10 of the Lei Ting sect, how could he die at your hands?" A surge of sinister power and the voice of revenge from my sect for a life. Are you taking action yourself, or should I personally take action? Zhang Yijian stood tall and replied, "Last time old Kumu also wanted revenge but was killed by me, and this time you come seeking revenge. Have you dug your own grave yet?" Upon hearing this, Xiao Elder's blood rushed to his brain. He clenched his fist with all his strength, raised his fist to attack Zhang Yijian, and shouted, "You must die." But Zhang Yijian calmly deflected that attack with his bare hands. Because of the attack from the Xiao Elder, the surroundings were significantly affected, and dirt and stones flew everywhere. Zhang Yijian remained calm and provoked him, "You talk a big game, but your strength is only this much." Upon hearing this, the Xiao Elder became even angrier, and the evil energy around him became more prominent. He wasted no time and charged at Zhang Yijian, shouting, "Let's see how long your bravado can last." Only then did Zhang Yijian unleash his spiritual energy to counter his attack, Infinite Hand. After his strike, the Xiao Elder was sent flying far away. He let out a painful cry and struggled to get up, his face distorted as he shouted, "How can this be? You actually have a divine level skill." With one hand, Zhang Yijian unleashed spiritual energy to attack him and said, "It's just a tiny divine level skill." He manifested a gigantic hand, summoned the Bagua array below, and his roar echoed, "I have plenty where that came from." The Xiao Elder did not sit idly by. He slammed his hand hard against the ground, unleashing spiritual energy to strike back. The ground cracked open, and the wind roared violently. Xiao Elder's eyes lit up as he shouted the name of the technique, Thunder Shield. However, his attack was quickly overcome by the giant fiery hand of Zhang Yijian, which crushed him tightly. Xiao Elder, panicking, shouted, "Little guy, let's make a deal, let's pretend nothing happened today, you go your sunny way, and I'll go my own path." Hearing this, Zhang Yijian responded, "So now you know fear. But it's too late." As soon as he finished speaking, the massive fiery fist lunged at Xiao Elder. He was engulfed in a sea of flames created by Zhang Yijian. Seeing Xiao Elder's predicament, Qiao Yong expressed panic and concern. How can this be? Even Xiao Elder has been defeated. Who the hell is he? Why is he so terrifying? Zhang Yijian approached Xiao Elder and leaned down, looking at his disheveled appearance with a contemptuous gaze. How does it feel to be revenged? Do you want to continue? With that, he forcefully pressed his face against the ground. However, he still refused to back down, gritting his teeth in anger. "You dare to offend the Lei Ting sect, do you know the consequences?" Zhang Yijian did not let him speak further, forcefully kicking him and shouting, "What a waste of words." Blood splattered out, causing him to cry out in pain. "Ah!" Everyone was visibly excited at the outcome of Xiao Elder. Zhao Yirong exclaimed eagerly, "Master is really strong, I admire you more and more." Jiang Yiyun joyfully remarked, "To be by Master's side is truly an honor." Zhang Yijian turned to look at Qiao Yong, struggling on the ground. He looked at him with contempt and asked, "Now it's your turn, what's it going to be? Do you still want to rob people?" At that moment, Qiao Yong finally realized fear. He grovelingly pleaded, "Zhang grandfather, Zhang immortal, please be magnanimous and spare me." Zhang Yijian showed no mercy, kicking him hard in the shoulder and said, "Spare you? Did you spare my disciple before?" He stepped on him and declared, "I give you two choices. One option is to commit suicide, the other is within 3 days to give half of Chao's family's assets to the Zhao family, otherwise he will die." Qiao Yong lay on the ground, grimacing, stammering, "Option 2, I choose option 2. Zhang Yijian tightly grasped Qiao Yong's arm, lifted him up and said, "I haven't finished speaking yet." Zhang Yijian decisively broke his arm. Qiao Yong cried out in pain, then continued, "Choosing option 2 is fine." Qiao Yong cried out in anguish, hugging his arm, while Zhang Yijian firmly stepped on him and loudly said, "But a death sentence can be pardoned, a life crime is hard to escape." Qiao Yong gasped in pain. After a moment he began foaming at the mouth, uttering a few "ugh" sounds, then fell unconscious. Seeing Qiao Yong defeated by Zhang Yijian, the subordinate screamed in fear and ran away. "Young Master Qiao is unconscious, what should we do now?" As they said, Qiao Yong lay motionless under Zhang Yijian's foot. He stepped over Qiao Yong and said, "Why are you just standing there, why aren't you hurrying back? If it's too late, he really will die." Qiao Yong's subordinates began to panic, pulling Qiao Yong away. Along with that was the noisy, "Yes, yes, sir." Zhao Yirong's father approached him and clasped his hands in gratitude. "Mr. Zhang, today thanks to your intervention, I, Zhao Jin, am immensely grateful." Zhang Yijian smiled politely. "Family master is being too formal, your daughter is my disciple, so it's only right to act this way." 3 hours later at Lei Ting sect, the 3 tokens on the table bearing the names of the 3 elders of Lei Ting sect shattered into pieces. The master of Lei Ting sect, in a fit of rage, slammed his hands on the table as thunder roared and shouted, "Damn it, how could our 3 elders of Lei Ting sect die one after another like this? It's simply absurd." Qing Xianzi quickly clasped his hands and reported, "Master, I have sent someone to investigate, and the deaths of the 3 elders were caused by a single person." He gritted his teeth and continued, "That person is a peak master of Tianyan sect, named Zhang Yijian." Upon hearing this, the master became even angrier and yelled, "Is it those Tianyan sect people again?" Qing Xianzi continued to add, "Tianyan sect is one of the 3 major sections. We are not easy to provoke, we must find a way to attack from the side." Another elder furrowed his brows in anger and questioned, "Qing Xianzi, do you have any opinions?" Qing Xianzi suggested solemnly, "In 1 month, we will organize a martial arts competition, and the key figures of the Tianyan sect will also participate. Another elder beside him immediately asked, I understand now, you mean to deal with Zhang Yijian at the conference, right? Qing Xianzi replied, exactly. As long as he enters my Lei Ting sect, he won't be able to survive leaving. The master agreed loudly with Qing Xianzi, let's do it this way, we must avenge our elder's grudge. At night, when the moon rose high, the quiet atmosphere of the city was shattered as a fiery shadow burst through the wall. A massive fire lion flew through the air. The guards tightly gripped their weapons and shouted, Beast, where do you think you're going? Without hesitation, he charged toward it and yelled, don't even think about causing chaos in the city any longer. He struck the fire lion fiercely with his weapon. The fire lion is not to be trifled with. It roared, knocking the guard away. After that, it ignored them and ran in another direction. Two other guards quickly chased after it, shouting, hurry up, don't let it escape. The other guard, in pain, held his stomach and muttered, damn it, today the city lord ordered the capture of this demon beast to bring it back for trial, but I'm powerless to do it. Meanwhile, at the Zhao family residence, Zhang Yijian and everyone were enjoying their meal. Zhao Jin raised a wine cup and invited, Zhang Xingxian, I can't thank you enough with words, so I'll leave it all in this cup of wine. Please feel free, I'll drain this cup. Zhang Yijian, not being polite, lifted the cup and drank it all, the family master is too polite, let's finish it. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun both lifted wine pots, wanting to pour more wine for Zhang Yijian. Zhao Yirong, blushing and shy, said, Master has worked hard, this banquet was specially prepared for you by my father, please drink a little more. Zhang Yijian, already blushing from the alcohol, raised the wine cup and slurred, ugh, I can't drink much, Master has a poor alcohol tolerance. Then he collapsed onto the table. Seeing this, Zhao Yirong worriedly said, oh, Master's alcohol tolerance is not good. Zhao Jin quickly reminded, daughter, help Zhang Shengyan to the living room to rest. Zhao Yirong obediently helped Zhang Yijian to her shoulder, yes, father. Jiang Yiyun also stepped up to assist, let me help. The two girls struggled to bring Zhang Yijian into the living room, laboriously placing him down on the bed. Zhao Yirong gasped, phew, master is too heavy, I'm exhausted. Jiang Yiyun then cautioned, be gentle, don't wake the master. Suddenly, a cup fell to the ground. Zhao Yirong looked at Jiang Yiyun and said, let's leave first. She intended to leave, but Zhang Yijian grabbed her hand to stop her. Zhao Yirong fell into Zhang Yijian's embrace, feeling embarrassed, and said, don't go. Zhang Yijian mumbled incoherently, let's keep drinking. Zhao Yirong looked at Jiang Yiyun for help and whispered, junior sister, save me. Jiang Yiyun nodded knowingly and replied, But as she took a step forward, she accidentally stepped on a cup on the floor and lost her balance, falling forward and exclaiming, while closing her eyes tightly. Thus, Zhang Yijian was comfortably sleeping, holding two beautiful women in his arms. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun blushed, lying on the bed and looking at each other. At this moment, Zhang Yijian turned to Jiang Yiyun, pouted, and mumbled, wine, I want to drink more. Jiang Yiyun, with red eyes tightly closed, whispered, oh no, master is drunk and doesn't know anything. Suddenly, the wall showed signs of cracking, and the fire lion unexpectedly charged into the room, breaking down the wall. Jiang Yiyun and Zhao Yirong sat up in surprise. The fire lion growled as it took steps inside. Zhao Yirong frowned at it and said, what is this? Why are there demon beasts here? It suddenly roared in anger, and Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun unleashed their true qi, communicating with each other. The demon beast seems to be targeting us. Jiang Yiyun firmly said, protect the master. As soon as she spoke, the fire lion pounced towards them. Jiang Yiyun quickly drew her sword and shouted, be careful. The sound of the sword clashing against the claws created a deafening noise. Jiang Yiyun struggled a bit to hold back the sword and keep the fire lion at bay. Zhao Yirong unleashed true qi in her hands and feet, frowning as she said, this demon beast is at the third rank, we cannot be careless, we must use all our strength to protect the master. Saying that, she waved her palm and struck at the fire lion. The bald guard immediately chased after the trail of the fire lion, shouting, "Hurry up, we must not let that demon beast escape." But at that moment, the fire lion suddenly ran outside. After running a short distance, it collapsed on the ground, howling in pain, much to the confusion of the disciples. The bald man looked at it in puzzlement. What is going on? At this time, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun also rushed outside with their swords. Both of them swung their swords, generating a stream of spiritual energy, ready to fight as they said to each other, "That beast has entered the villa. You will die." The fire lion growled angrily, looking around. Then, it seemed to lose control and charged forward to attack the two people, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun. However, it did not attack them but quickly dashed past, heading towards Zhang Yijian's room. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun panicked and shouted, "This is bad, it's heading towards the master." Jiang Yiyun pulled out a talisman, ignited it, frowned, and shouted, "We can't let it hurt the master." Saying that, she threw the talisman at the fire lion. The talisman hit it, and immediately a massive explosion erupted violently. Even Zhang Yijian, who was asleep like a log, was jolted awake, his eyes wide open. The disciples who witnessed this were shocked and exclaimed, "It's a divine-level talisman." The blue-haired man was also astonished and gasped, "Oh my gosh, a divine-level talisman is a priceless treasure, why use it like this?" The brown-haired man echoed, "What a terrifying explosion, those two women must be immortals." Jiang Yiyun didn't care how powerful the divine weapon was, as long as she could protect the master, she would use it right away. She saw the fire lion explode and joyfully exclaimed, "Phew, luckily I was given a divine-level talisman by the master, otherwise, the consequences would have been catastrophic." The bald man ran towards the two, thinking, "What luck, meeting immortals here, we are saved." He rushed over, bowed, and said loudly, "Song He pays respects to the two immortals. You immortals slaying demon beasts, shaking the heavens and the earth, your prowess is truly admirable." Upon hearing this, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun were slightly astonished and replied, "Immortals? We're not." Song He assumed the two were being modest and admired them even more, saying, "Immortals are being humble." Looking at the room that had been devastated, where Zhang Yijian was sitting in a daze, Song He continued, "Earlier, you two saved a mortal, demonstrating incredible power, so you must be immortals." Jiang Yiyun listened with a puzzled expression, assessing Song He. Zhao Yirong, feeling a bit angry, responded, "What mortal? That person is our master, right?" Song He was shocked, falling back and shouting, "What? A master?" At this moment, Zhang Yijian came out from inside, walked over to Song He, and asked the two female disciples, "Disciple, what happened just now? Why did you blow up my room?" Jiang Yiyun bowed respectfully and replied, "Master, there was a demon beast ambush just now, so I used the divine-level talisman you gave me to slay it." Song He was still in shock, sweating profusely, thinking, "This man is actually the master of immortals. Moreover, that green talisman was given by him. Terrifying, so terrifying." Zhang Yijian then noticed Song He and turned to ask, "Oh, by the way, who are you?" When Song He heard the question, he quickly bowed and respectfully replied, "Honorable Immortal, I am a subordinate of the city lord, sent here to eliminate the demon beasts that harm the people." Zhang Yijian stroked his chin while looking at him and said, "City lord? I'm not familiar with that. Do not know if the immortals are willing to go meet the city lord. The city lord has recently been troubled by demon beasts, and hopes the immortals can provide assistance. Recently, there has been a 5th-grade demon beast causing havoc outside the city, which has made the city lord very worried. If the immortals agree to help the city lord, then there is no need to fear that 5th-grade demon beast anymore." As Song He finished speaking, the system interface displayed the task, "Ting, new disciple detected, city lord, please make haste to accept the disciple." Zhang Yijian stroked his chin and thought, "Is there a new disciple already?" Song He earnestly bowed and pleaded, "Immortals, the people in the city need your help, I hope you can assist us." Zhang Yijian chuckled softly, then confidently said, "Lead me to meet the city lord." Hearing this, Song He was overjoyed and replied, "Yes, yes, thank you immortals for your support. That night at Tianlu City, in the city lord's residence, all the guards inside were extremely anxious and kept reporting to the city lord, we sent 100 people to surround and suppress the demon beasts, but none survived. The power of a 5th grade demon beast is incomparable. The city lord should still give up on surrounding and suppressing it. Zhang Qiao, the city lord, frowned in anger and shouted, "Damn it, do you know how many people will die at the hands of the 5th grade demon beasts if they roam outside the city?" The 2 guards, hearing her words, fearfully retorted, "But we have no other options. Are we really going to risk the lives of all the citizens in the town?" "That's right, so if the demon beasts ambush humans, what difference does it make?" Zhang Qiao, the city lord, gritted her teeth in anger, slammed the table, and yelled, "Damn it, my father died at its hands, leading me to hastily take up this position. I can only blame my ineptitude for being unable to take revenge and provide for the people." The assembly hall was extremely tense at this moment when Song He entered with the 3 students, Zhang Yijian, happily exclaiming, "City lord, I have brought people to help you." Zhang Qiao, the city lord, exclaimed in surprise, "Song He?" The green-haired man looked outside and suspiciously asked, "Song He, what kind of helpers have you brought?" The green-haired man showed little regard and said, "Are you saying it's those kids behind you?" Song He angrily retorted, "Impertinent, don't be disrespectful to the immortals." The city lord of Zhang Qiao shouted, "Everyone shut up." She walked down, approached Song He, and asked, "What is going on? Explain it clearly to me." Song He replied seriously, "City lord, tonight I saw 2 immortal disciples demonstrating their strength, and they killed the demon beasts I was pursuing. So I brought them here, hoping the immortals could help eliminate that 5th-rank demon beast." As soon as this was said, the blind fools inside laughed mockingly, "Haha, relying on them? They are just a few kids, you're boasting too much." The city lord of Zhang Qiao questioned with suspicion, "Can you really kill the 5th-rank demon beasts?" Zhang Yijian confidently answered, "No, not us, but just me." The city lord of Zhang Qiao continued to ask, "May I ask what is your cultivation?" Zhang Yijian answered without hesitation, "Golden elixir." As this sentence was spoken, the group inside couldn't help but burst into laughter and mock him. "Golden elixir and you dare to kill a level 5 demon beast? You've really gone mad. The 5 golden elixir cultivators we sent out have all perished in the jaws of that divine beast. You are truly talking nonsense." Zhang Qiao sighed in despair, turned away, and said, "You should just go back." Zhang Yijian paid no attention to the foolish ones inside and looked at Zhang Qiao, asking, "What's wrong? Don't you believe me?" Hearing the question, Zhang Qiao bluntly replied, "That demon beast is not something a golden elixir can handle. You'll surely die if you go." Zhang Yijian found it a little amusing and said, "Then let's make a bet. If I win, you will take me as your master. If I lose, you can do whatever you want with me." Zhang Qiao was taken aback and asked, "Are you serious?" Zhang Yijian affirmed, "Of course." Zhang Qiao furrowed his brow, still unable to believe him, and said, "If you want me to bet, that's fine, but you have to show me your strength first." She said, then crossed her arms, exhaled, and somewhat indifferently called out, "Fong Elder, why don't you try a move with him? If he loses, I won't need to bet." Upon being addressed, Fong Elder chuckled and stepped forward, replying, "Understood, City Lord." After responding, he lifted his foot and jumped high, then unleashed a burst of powerful true qi. Looking down at Zhang Yijian with arrogance, he said, "I'll make you find your teeth on the ground." After saying that, he spread his arms like a large bear and charged downward with a wave of formidable spiritual energy. Down below, Zhang Yijian did not appear flustered, he merely frowned and raised his hand to generate a wave of spiritual energy to counter. Then, the 2 waves of spiritual energy clashed, neutralizing each other. Zhang Yijian smirked and said, "Golden elixir mid-stage, huh? Hee, that's a bit interesting." Fong Elder then created a true body of fire enveloped by spirit flame and quickly rushed to attack Zhang Yijian, shouting, "Little guy, where do you think you're running? Dreaming of becoming the master of the city lord? What are your immortals worth? In battle, no one talks as much as he does." Zhang Yijian stood below, shaking his head as he watched him flail around above. He did not need to exert himself or do anything tiring, he simply grabbed the man's head gently and then slammed it down onto the floor, saying, "Huh? Colorful and flowery." With just this gentle blow, the man was left groaning in pain, lying in one spot. The ground was also cracked in one section. The few people inside were now astonished, their mouths agape, unable to believe and asking each other, how could this happen? Fang Elder is the best among us, how could he lose? Zhang Qiao also looked at Zhang Yijian differently, thinking, in the midst of battle, this man remained very calm. Could it be that he is very strong? After dealing with Fang Elder, Zhang Yijian turned to Zhang Qiao and asked, "So, what about our bet? Are you willing to continue?" Zhang Qiao was not panicking about this bet with Zhang Yijian. "You have some strength, but the 5th grade demon beast has the ability to activate a field. If you are not afraid, I can agree to this bet." Zhang Yijian was not afraid, on the contrary, he looked down on the demon beast she mentioned. "It's just a little 5th grade demon beast. After 3 more days, we will take its dog life." Hearing this from him, Zhang Qiao had nothing more to say and stepped forward to hook pinkies with him. "Okay, I hope you don't brag." The elders inside, seeing that things were going smoothly, started to stir up trouble. This little guy definitely has ulterior motives, otherwise, why wait 3 days to set off? Another elder chimed in, "It doesn't matter when we leave, what's the need for suspicion?" Seeing Zhang Qiao getting a bit angry, Zhang Yijian stopped her by raising his hand and said, "First, let's go back and prepare a bit, we will come back in 3 days." With that, he decisively walked outside, calling out loudly, "Disciple, let's go." Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun followed behind, replying, "Understood, master." Upon returning to their residence, Zhang Yijian started rummaging through a pile of skills in front of him. "I remember there was a cultivation skill somewhere, where could it be?" Jiang Yiyun looked at Zhang Yijian, puzzled, and said, "Master said we should gather in the morning, I wonder what he wants to do." Zhao Yirong also couldn't understand and replied, "I don't know, but it's rare to see the master so serious like this." After a moment, Zhang Yijian happily held up a skill book titled Rapid Cultivation Technique and said, "Ah, I found it." He then looked at his 2 disciples and thought, "This skill book can help my disciples quickly break through in cultivation. By then, I will also advance a level, and hunting a 5th-tier beast will no longer be a problem." Thinking this, he threw the skill book to Zhao Yirong and said, "This skill book is for you both. Remember to practice diligently, it's extremely beneficial for you." Hearing this, the 2 joyfully replied in unison, "Thank you, master." When they opened the skill book, they were very excited, but when they saw the content inside, Zhao Yirong blushed and looked at her master, saying, "Master, there seems to be something wrong with this skill." Zhang Yijian, confused, asked, "What is it?" She held the skill book up for her master to see and blushed as she said, "It says here that you need to collect yang energy, and when cultivating, you must immerse yourself in yin water." Zhang Yijian opened his mouth in shock as he looked at the skill book and asked, Is it the Heart Sutra of the Jade Maiden?" Zhao Yirong frowned slightly and replied, "What do you mean by the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra?" Zhang Yijian suddenly blushed and said, "No, it's nothing." He then thought, "Oh, I just remember the effect of this skill, but completely forget the content." Jiang Yiyun innocently exclaimed, "Master, since you have nothing to do today, let's practice this skill together." Zhang Yijian shyly asked, "Me? No way, it's inappropriate for men and women." His 2 female disciples excitedly ran over and hugged Zhang Yijian's arms, each saying, "I trust Master's character, you definitely won't do anything inappropriate." "I trust Master too, come on, let's go practice." The 2 of them continued to hold Zhang Yijian's hands and pulled him along in confusion. Are you really going to do it?" Then all 3 of them sat together in a hot spring to practice. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun intertwined their hands, closed their eyes, and said, "Master, we can start now." Zhang Yijian also replied, "All right, let's get started." Following that, the sounds of the 2 girls screaming echoed with great difficulty. Both could hardly endure the wave of power and managed to voice out, "The yang energy is too strong, I can't take it anymore." "I'm the same, the yang energy makes my head feel numb," another girl answered. From the screams of the 2 girls, the system also displayed their ranks. Zhao Yirong reached the early stage of foundation establishment, while Jiang Yiyun had reached the peak of foundation establishment. As for Zhang Yijian, since his two disciples had advanced, he also felt a bit uncomfortable in terms of realm. Ting, congratulations host, your disciples have successfully broken through, triggering 1,000 times cultivation. Host has broken through to Golden Elixir Peak. After a while, all three were exhausted and lay sprawled in the barrel, breathing heavily. Zhang Yijian spread his arms to support his two disciples. Master, this skill is too domineering, it only took a short time to break through. It feels like my body is very light. Zhang Yijian sighed and rubbed the heads of the two, saying, breaking through is good. The master was also very pleased. On the side of Zhang Qiao and the elders of the city lord's mansion, two elders could not contain themselves and spoke up, City Lord, do you really believe that little guy? It's the third day already, he definitely won't come back. Even if he comes, it will only mean death. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yijian arrogantly entered with his two disciples and said loudly, sorry, I'm late. The pink-haired man, upon seeing Zhang Yijian enter, mocked him, oh, he really came, the young fool who doesn't know life and death. Zhang Qiao also spoke to Zhang Yijian, we've located the demon beasts, you still have time to regret now. Zhang Yijian didn't want to say much and urged, don't waste words, take me there. Zhang Qiao walked past Zhang Yijian and said, alright, follow me. The group led by Zhang Qiao and Zhang Yijian ventured deep into a forest. Zhang Qiao stopped and pointed inside, saying, the 5th grade demon beasts are up ahead, you should go there by yourself, we will observe from the outside. Zhang Yijian replied briefly, got it, and then took off, shouting, let me handle this, I'll be back in a bit. The guys below watched him go and couldn't help but comment, this guy is really in a hurry to go reincarnate. The pink-haired guy, pretending to be disdainful, said, I bet he won't last even a moment, not even 10 seconds. Zhang Yijian landed lightly in an area full of dead demon beasts. He looked around and said, where are the 5th grade demon beasts? He noticed a purple demon beast being eaten by another oddly shaped demon beast, which had a piece of flesh in its mouth. It turned its head to look at Zhang Yijian, and upon seeing it, Zhang Yijian grinned and said, ah, found you. The demon beast charged at Zhang Yijian with the intent to attack. He didn't let himself be outdone, he leaped and shouted, killing you means I get another disciple, so die. The demon beast launched an attack towards Zhang Yijian, who swiftly dodged it, causing the attack to miss and strike the ground instead, resulting in an incredibly strong wave of spiritual energy. Zhang Yijian turned over and launched a counterattack against it. He opened his hands, creating a gentle yet powerful stream of spiritual energy. He struck it directly with a blow, casually asking, is this a 5th level demon beast? The force of the strike pierced right through its body. The elders outside, witnessing this scene, panicked and shouted, am I seeing things? That little guy actually managed to injure a 5th level demon beast. Others chimed in, all expressing their confusion, we have so many people trying to get close to it, and yet he killed it with just one strike. Zhang Qiao calmly observed the situation. She frowned, not underestimating the circumstances, thinking, it's still a bit early, this demon beast is not simple at all. Just as she thought, the 5th level monster erupted with power, roaring as it attacked Zhang Yijian. But he was no ordinary opponent, he immediately disappeared right before its eyes. He used the technique Heavenly Shadow Body, circling around it and creating countless clones, sneering as he said, you were pierced through and yet didn't die, that's a bit interesting. It roared and charged at one of the clones, grabbing tightly onto the illusionary copy. Then, in anger, it used its hands to tear the phantom body into 100 pieces. It desperately ran here to smash the phantoms, then ran over there to attack, but still could not find the real Zhang Yijian. Zhang Qiao, standing outside watching the situation, was equally bewildered, what on earth is going on? Inside, the monster was still frantically clawing at the phantoms of Zhang Yijian. He suddenly appeared behind it, teasingly asking, are you very angry? He swung a sword filled with thunderous energy, striking fiercely. Then he jumped high, swinging the sword down, and said to it, then let me show you my true power. Seeing this, it couldn't dodge in time, so it just stood there, bracing for impact, raising its hands to shield itself. A strike from Zhang Yijian came down, severing both of its arms. Zhang Yijian seized the advantage and pressed the attack, saying, "You are the first one to survive under my divine sword, but that's all there is to it." Each sword strike landed heavily on its body. Its entire body was slashed in several places, but it was not an easy opponent. It howled and regenerated the severed parts. Its two arms regrew completely as if they had never been harmed. It charged directly in, gripping the sword of Zhang Yijian, catching him by surprise and making him exclaim. It exerted even more force, tightly squeezing Zhang Yijian's sword, creating an incredibly powerful field of demon beasts. It let out a loud roar in front of Zhang Yijian, which made him even more excited. "So there is a field, huh? Its strength is quite impressive," it growled, raising its fist with the intention of punching Zhang Yijian. Immediately, he easily dodged its attack. It swung its other fist, striking directly at Zhang Yijian's chest, knocking him down to the ground. He quickly got back up but was a bit staggered. Zhang Yijian truly could not underestimate it, nursing one shoulder while looking at it. The field can increase its attack speed, quite interesting. It didn't understand what he was saying and charged at him again. Zhang Yijian pulled out a paper dummy, his expression sharpening, and burned it, saying, "If that's the case, then I have no choice but to play my trump card." The small paper dummy had now transformed into a paper person, a very large fire puppet. The paper mannequin was not gentle either as it yelled out several times. The flames inside it flared up. Then, following Zhang Yijian's command, it punched down towards the monster. "Evil creature, accept your death." A rain of blood was splattered right above Zhang Yijian. He raised his hand to catch it, saying, "Is this dead? How cruel." The group of elders, along with Zhang Qiao, were stunned by the scene. After that, everyone was left in shock, shouting out loud, "Did we win? No way, did we really win? Why does it feel like I'm dreaming? That little guy is actually strong. No, he's really an immortal." Zhang Yijian walked over to the group of Zhang Qiao, smiling and saying, "The 5th grade demon beasts have been dealt with, you all don't need to worry anymore." The elders who had mocked him before now shamelessly knelt down and called out, "Immortal, your strength is as clear as day now. It was my fault for not seeing it before, please forgive me. Please forgive me, Immortal." Zhang Yijian showed no interest and coldly turned away, saying, "Get up, knowing you were wrong is good. Don't look down on others with those dog-like eyes anymore." The group of elders quickly replied, "Understood, esteemed immortals." Zhang Yijian then turned to the main character in this matter and asked, "City Lord, I've won. Have you come to respect me now?" The elders behind him quickly changed their demeanor, hinting to her about Zhang Yijian's extraordinary power. "The power of the immortals is profound. If you can take him as your master, City Lord, you could gain a great opportunity. Please, kneel and pay your respects to your master." Zhang Qiao, no longer doubtful of Zhang Yijian's strength, quickly knelt down and said, "Zhang Qiao pays respects to master." Just waiting for this phrase, the system chimed in, "Ting, congratulations host on successfully receiving your 3rd disciple, the reward will be a large gift package." The system revealed a small gift bag. Zhang Yijian was a bit surprised, reaching out to take it and saying, "Oh, there's even a gift package. There must be quite a few good things inside, right?" But Zhang Yijian didn't care much, tossing it directly into Zhang Qiao's hands. "However, I don't really need it that much, just give it to the new apprentice." Zhang Qiao received the gift bag and opened it slowly, asking in confusion, "Master, this is?" Zhang Yijian replied, "It's a gift for your apprenticeship." Zhang Qiao took out several magic weapons from inside and asked, "A gift for apprenticeship?" The elders behind them were astonished to see the magic weapons inside the bag, exclaiming, "Oh my gosh, that's a divine level skill, and in addition to the skill, there are also 2 divine level weapons. This is truly incredible." Zhang Qiao looked excitedly at the skill book and asked her master, "Master, are you really giving me these?" Zhang Yijian calmly responded, of course. Zhang Qiao then knelt before Zhang Yijian, saying, "Thank you, master." Zhang Qiao is truly grateful from the bottom of my heart. Zhang Yijian bent down to help her up and said, "These are just minor divine weapons. Come with me to the sixth peak, I have many better things to give you." Zhang Qiao hesitated a bit and replied, "Master, I still have many matters to resolve in the city." Zhang Yijian lightly smiled and reassured her, "It's okay. You handle it first, then you can go. I will wait for you." Zhang Qiao said with peace of mind, thanking the master for understanding. Zhang Yijian and Zhao Yirong, Jiang Yiyun said while leaving, "All right, I will go back to the sixth peak first, I will wait for you there." Zhang Qiao replied, "Understood, master." On the side of the Tianyan sect, the master peaks and the master were sitting together discussing among themselves. The master spoke up and said, "Everyone, the Lei Ting sect is about to hold a martial arts competition, and they will let Zhang Yijian go into battle." The red-haired master peak spoke up, "This is not a simple matter, they will definitely target Zhang Master Peak. Zhang Master Peak is the future hope of our Tianyan sect, nothing can happen to him." The master also had a plan and said seriously, "I have already sent someone to find Zhang Yijian, and when he returns, we will continue to discuss countermeasures." A voice from outside called out, "Master, I heard about the martial arts competition on my way back, this is a great opportunity for practice." Everyone turned their heads to see. Zhang Yijian walked in calmly, sat down, and continued, "I heard that after the conference, the Holy Realm will be opened, and there will be many opportunities there. I want to take my disciple there." The master quickly raised his hand to stop him, anxiously saying, "No, if you enter the Lei Ting sect, you will definitely be retaliated against, it's absolutely out of the question." Zhang Yijian, with an expression unchanged, retorted to the master, "Is it possible that being in the Tianyan sect means they won't seek revenge on me?" The master hesitated a bit, responding, "Well." Zhang Yijian continued with his arms crossed, "Don't worry, if they dare to do anything, I will eradicate the Lei Ting sect as well." Master Qian of the Peak also felt this was reasonable and spoke up, "What Zhang Master Peak says does have some merit, the Lei Ting sect will definitely retaliate, so whether we go or not is the same. If that's the case, why not go and see?" Zhang Yijian slammed the table and said loudly, "Then let's decide on that, I will participate in this martial arts conference." On the side of the Lei Ting sect, the master then asked Qing Xianzi, "How is the killing formation prepared?" Qing Xianzi clasped his hands and said, reporting to the master, "The preparation is complete, we just need to wait for the final performance." Qing Xianzi waved his hand, "Someone hurry and bring the young master in here." Chao Yong was pushed inside by a subordinate. As soon as Chao Yong was pushed in, he cried out in anguish, "Lay Master, Qing Xianzi Elder, Zhang Yijian has turned me into a cripple, you must avenge me." Qing Xianzi waved his hand and frowned, "No need to shout, I have my own way." A stream of purple true qi surrounded his hand in a mysterious manner. "This is a leftover spiritual weapon from Zhang Yijian." He waved his hand and placed it into the formation, then explained, "I will put it into the formation and it will automatically lock onto Zhang Yijian. At that time, the Thunder Soldiers in general will eternally hunt Zhang Yijian, unless someone else breaks the formation, he will not be able to escape." He imagined the scene of Thunder Soldiers and generals surrounding Zhang Yijian within the formation. On the day of the martial arts competition held by the Lei Ting sect, disciples from various sects gathered here. Outside, 3 well-built disciples, carrying their swords on their backs, entered. The master stepped forward and laughed heartily, "Ha ha, welcome. The Tao sect has come from afar, we are grateful for your presence." The lead disciple with blonde hair respectfully clasped his hands and responded, "Junior Huang Han San, sent by my father to participate in the martial arts competition. Please take good care of me." Upon hearing his identity, the master laughed loudly, "The son of little San has grown up so much. Please come inside." Meanwhile, 2 other sects also entered. The first was Shanhai sect led by Han Shan. The second was Black Star sect led by Zhuge Yunfan. The 2 entered, laughing, "For such a big event, we hope we're not late, right, Lay Master? It's been a while since we last met." Seeing the 2 enter, the master warmly approached them, cupping his hands in greeting. Zhuge brother, Han brother, you've arrived just in time. Thank you for supporting me, Han Shan said to the master seriously. I heard that recently you have some troubles with the Tianyin sect. Do you need my help with anything? The master confidently chuckled and replied, it's just a bunch of ants, not worth worrying about. At that moment, an announcement came from outside, the Tianyin sect has arrived. All three turned their heads towards the outside. The master clicked his tongue a bit. Oh, speaking of flies, here they come. The master from the Tianyin sect entered along with three peak masters. Behind them, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun also followed. The master of the Tianyin sect entered boldly and mocked him. Lei Patian, do you think I can't hear you insulting my sect in a low voice? Lei Patian, unbothered, replied directly, the old master of the Tianyin sect has passed away. What does it matter if I insult your family? Zhang Yijian calmly stepped forward and responded to him. The words of the third elder and the disciple of Lei Ting's sect have died out. Compared to them, you are much more arrogant, master. Hearing this, Lei Patian felt a bit angry and said, who gave you the courage to speak to me like that? Could it be that you killed 3 disciples of our sect? Zhang Yijian arrogantly replied, it was me. Hearing this, Lei Patian angrily shouted, a mortal who has never stepped into the path of cultivation dares to speak nonsense. Is there no one left in the Tianyin sect? Zhuge Yunfan and Han Shan each chimed in to defend Lei Patian. Now the Tianyin sect has sent a mouthy mortal here, it's truly shameful. We should disperse immediately. Otherwise, a sect that has no value should not exist. A disciple of the Lei Ting sect also stepped forward aggressively, cupping his fists and saying, Master, I want to take revenge for Master Xiao Elder. He said this and then directly drew his sword, rushing forward while shouting, Thunderous Destruction Sword. The sword strike was aimed straight at Zhang Yijian to avenge his elder brother, Lei Busi. However, Zhang Yijian did not pay him any mind, calmly watching him make a fool of himself, and then lightly struck him with a palm, sending him flying. He was knocked back toward a building. Unexpectedly, when he crashed into that building, he was instantly blown to smithereens. The explosion was enormous, shaking a vast area. The two, Zhuge Yunfan and Han Shan, were both bewildered, looking towards that direction in disbelief. What is happening? The martial arts here are truly impressive. Lei Patian also couldn't understand and furrowed his brow, saying, how could a mortal weaker than an ant possess such strength? Could it be the treasure of the Tianyin sect? Zhang Yijian smiled, teasing him, Lei Master, what are you thinking? Do you want to send more disciples to take revenge? Seeing his face contorted with anger, Zhang Yijian was even more pleased, adding, right now, I am feeling sleepy, so please hurry and arrange a room for me to rest. The people of the Lei Ting sect can wait in line outside. Lei Patian could no longer hold it in, unleashing his spiritual energy, causing his clothes to tear apart as he shouted, I want you to lie still here. Qing Xianzi stepped forward, interrupting him, and said, Master, our sect is a prestigious major sect. We don't need to be angry with a sect like this. He said and then leaned in to whisper in Lei Patian's ear, there are many people here, and attacking a junior will damage the image of the Lei Ting sect. Just let him go ahead, by tonight, we will have a way to deal with him. After speaking to Lei Patian, Qing Xianzi approached Zhang Yijian, Daoist friend Zhang, the room has been arranged. Please feel free to rest. Finally, night fell. Inside a very large house, Zhang Yijian was sleeping. On the roof, someone was quietly lifting a tile to reveal a hole through which they could see inside. That person was none other than Qing Xianzi and Lei Patian. The two looked inside and spoke softly. This guy is sleeping like a log, Lei Patian said. Stop talking so much and take action. Qing Xianzi clasped his hands. Alright, I will summon the various thunder generals from the thunder killing formation to strike him down swiftly. Let's activate the formation now. He had just spoken when a formation was laid out above, illuminating the entire sky. 3 generals were summoned. Qing Xianzi then commanded, let's go, let's enjoy the thrill of slaughter. The 3 generals followed the order and charged through the door with the intention of attacking Zhang Yijian. But before they could even touch a hair on Zhang Yijian's head, a dazzling aura emanated around him. The other generals were immediately thrown back, crying out in pain. Qing Xianzi looked at this scene in bewilderment. This is. Lei Patian was equally confused and said, this radiance, could it be the divine level defense of a spirit beast? Our Lei Ting sect has such a solid foundation, yet we don't even have a divine weapon at the divine level. How could this ent possibly possess such an item? Lei Patian felt somewhat cautious, retreating and saying to Qing Xianzi, no wonder he has been able to continuously kill our elders and disciples. It turns out he has a divine-level weapon by his side. Qing Xianzi frowned and replied, Master, the most precious treasure of our sect is the Wind Heaven Talisman, combined with the Thunder-Killing Formation. It is possible to temporarily deactivate the divine weapon at the divine level for a short time. Or, Lei Patian chuckled and said, good, bring the female disciple here. If we kill this Zhang Yijian, Lei Ting sect will also have that divine-level magic weapon. Inside, Zhang Yijian continued to pretend to be in deep sleep, but a smile of anticipation appeared on his face. At that moment, the door was gently opened, and a graceful girl walked into the room. She was holding a golden talisman hidden in her hand. She stood in the middle of the room, looked at Zhang Yijian, and spoke softly, today, with the moonlight so clear and the breeze so pleasant, let me take you, young master, to the peak of Wu Mountain. She thought to herself, as long as I stick this talisman on him, from now on I will be the deputy master, standing below one person and above tens of thousands. Zhang Yijian opened his eyes, looked at her and exclaimed, raising his hands behind his head, what a beautiful woman. Lei Ting sect is not bad, I can even dream of a romantic spring dream here. The girl looked at Zhang Yijian with a hint of surprise and thought to herself, he opened his eyes already. He must think of a way to stick it on him. Zhang Yijian reached out and grabbed the sleeve of the girl, saying, this seems to be true and not a dream, right? The girl started to act coyly, looking at Zhang Yijian and asking, young master, do you think I am beautiful? Zhang Yijian's mouth watered, and he approached her with both hands, praising, beautiful, really beautiful. The girl asked again, then why not come closer to me? She said and threw herself toward Zhang Yijian, how about I come to your side? But just as she jumped off the bed, Zhang Yijian had already teleported away. Zhang Yijian waved his hand, sneering at her, saying, weren't you wanting to dance with the immortal? Were all the people waiting outside yours, right? A few generals outside saw that the plan was exposed and rushed in together, saying loudly, the plan has failed. All officers, surround this place. Zhang Yijian looked back and exclaimed, saying, sure enough, the one who jumped out is the immortal. The girl took the opportunity and quickly stuck the talisman on Zhang Yijian's back. Zhang Yijian turned around and slapped her straight in the face, shouting, indeed, a beautiful woman brings disaster. She fell backward, letting out a scream. Inside the room, several loud thunderclaps echoed, resonating throughout the space. Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi laughed heartily, pleased with themselves, saying, it seems the talisman is already effective. Without a divine-level magic weapon, ants are still just ants. Ha ha ha. I will personally seek out that extraordinary spirit. Zhang Yijian furrowed his brow and flew out from the room. He hovered above and said, there must be a formation set up here. I need to find the formation eye and break it. Seeing him, Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi looked up in astonishment, saying, oh, his life is still tenacious, isn't it? Impossible. The lightning-killing formation and the golden elixir cultivators have all been killed. How could a mortal like him survive? It's no problem. If we send a group of 1,000-year-old sacred thunder beasts into the formation, even ancestors would have to concede 3 parts. 5 tigers growled and approached Zhang Yijian from all sides. The white tigers charged down ferociously. Lei Patian said, he should see his body being gnawed to pieces by the sacred thunder beasts, let this be the revenge of the disciples. Zhang Yijian, instead of being afraid, broke into an amused smile. He swiftly dodged the 3 charging tigers, soaring upwards, avoiding another flurry of attacks from the remaining 4 tigers. He raised his hand, creating an enormous hand. He shouted at them, "You beasts dare to be arrogant? Thousands of years and holy beasts, you all greatly overestimate yourselves." With that, he slammed his palm down, directly crushing the 4 tigers. Lei Patian jumped up as if scalded with boiling water, yelling, "Holy beast of our sect." Qing Xianzi reassured him, "Master, he can't escape from the thunder-killing array. Just let the formation trap him." Hearing this, Zhang Yijian threw something out, then refined it in his hand, scoffing, "This broken array must be nearby. I came to find it." After saying that, he tossed the compass high into the air to scout for direction. Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi were once again astonished, saying, "Is that the 9 palaces compass? Oh my, another divine-level magic weapon." Zhang Yijian happily looked in one direction and said, "Found it." Seeing this, Lei Patian panicked, "Oh no, the formation has been detected." Qing Xianzi made a seal, determined to concentrate all his strength on the formation eye. "Let's fight him to the death." He solemnly performed the seal, seriously laying down the formation. He also summoned another giant warrior. The warrior stood majestically above. Seeing this, Zhang Yijian was amused and said, "Interesting, isn't it?" The other person said nothing more and swung his spear down towards Zhang Yijian. Zhang Yijian showed no mercy and blocked his attack with a single finger. "Is that all there is?" Zhang Yijian charged forward, shouting, "Break for me." A flow of air surrounded him. The golden spiritual energy sliced through his opponent's arms like a knife, causing him to scream in pain. Zhang Yijian looked ahead and said, "The eye's formation, huh?" Zhang Yijian laughed and swung his palm towards one side, "Finally found you." Zhang Yijian decisively struck with a palm, hitting the man directly. His entire body exploded, and the formation was resolved. Lei Patian covered his eyes, enduring the pressure created by the formation, and shouted, "Ah, hum, ah." Lei Patian gritted his teeth in anger, saying, "Damn it. Is it really impossible to kill him?" Qing Xianzi also realized and said, "Master, this little guy is not as simple as the rumors say. We have been deceived." Lei Patian was still unwilling to give up and said, "This type of disobedient to heaven absolutely cannot be spared. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe." Qing Xianzi, covered in sweat, said, "What should we do next? We have no way to eliminate him." Lei Patian replied, "Don't rush. When the martial arts competition begins, we will let him win and then grant him the qualification to enter the minor realm." Qing Xianzi wondered, "Why is that?" Lei Patian explained to him, "In the minor realm, there exists the Thunder God Temple. We can use the power within it to kill him without leaving any traces behind." Qing Xianzi also understood, saying, "So that's how it is. Master is truly wise." After discussing the plan, the two of them left. "Let's go, don't let him find out." Understood. Zhang Yijian watched them, secretly harboring resentment, saying, "Lei Ting sect, I will remember this debt." The next morning, in front of the main hall, all 3 sects had gathered together with great momentum. One person said, "Finally, it's starting. This time, our Black Star sect will definitely enter the minor realm." "What does entering the minor realm mean?" "My goal is to discover what's inside the Thunder God Temple," another person replied. Zhang Yijian and his 2 disciples also began to walk out. He stretched and yawned. Seeing this, Zhao Yirong worriedly asked, "Master, what's wrong?" Jiang Yiyun also asked, "Did you sleep poorly last night?" He looked towards Lei Patian, sneering, and said, "I didn't sleep well. It's just that a few people came to bother us." Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi walked up to the main hall and said solemnly, "Ladies and gentlemen, the martial arts competition is about to begin. There will be a team competition, and the winners will qualify to enter the minor realm." Zhao Yirong had some questions and asked, "What is the minor realm?" The master beside her explained, "The minor realm this time is a part of the Thunder God Palace. Inside, there is a divine-level weapon that has been lost. The purpose of this martial arts competition is to fairly allocate entry quotas and allow everyone to search for weapons. Zhao Yirong understood and was a bit surprised, responding, "So that's how it is." Lei Patian waved his hand again and said, "I now declare that the martial arts competition has officially begun. The first match, Tian Yen Sec's Zhao Yirong will fight against Ba Dao Sec's Huang Han San." Zhao Yirong felt a bit nervous and said to Zhang Yijian, "Master, I'm so anxious." Zhang Yijian encouraged her, saying, "Master believes you can do it, go for it." At this moment, Huang Han San eagerly rushed onto the arena, excitedly saying, "It has started, it has started. Today, who dares to stop me? I will kill that person." Zhao Yirong jumped onto the stage, holding her sword defensively, facing him. She said, "The disciple of Zhang Yijian, Zhao Yirong, seeks your guidance." Huang Han San laughed mockingly. "So you are the disciple of that useless person? Huh, what a pity that a beautiful girl like you is with such a useless person." The disciples standing behind also chimed in with jeers. "What strength does the disciple of a useless person have? If she can win, I'll stand on my head and eat shit." Huang Han San swung his sword and charged, shouting, "If you want to die, then see my blade." The sword strike swept across, but Zhao Yirong quickly dodged. She swung her sword back, causing Huang Han San to panic and shout, "This is bad." He received a strike right to the back from Zhao Yirong, causing him to scream in pain. The three disciples watching below were surprised and said, "What is happening?" Huang Han San was actually defeated by the disciple of a useless person. The referee's voice rang out, making Lei Patian stand there with a distorted face. First match, Tian Yen Sect, Zhao Yirong wins. Zhao Yirong jumped down from the stage, ran to Zhang Yijian, and happily said, "Master, I won." He happily patted her head and praised, "I knew you could do it." The referee announced again, next match, Zhang Yijian vs Meng Jiang. Zhang Yijian, full of enthusiasm, jumped onto the stage and said loudly, "All right, it's Master's turn for the next match." Before Zhang Yijian could even land, Meng Jiang knelt down crying and wailed, "I concede, I admit defeat." Zhang Yijian, upon seeing this scene, was at a loss for words, looking at him with disinterest. Lei Patian's expression darkened, and he laughed in anger, thinking, "I intentionally arranged for the surrender. Wait until you enter the minor realm, and then you're finished." Zhang Yijian rested his hands, turned around, and walked down, saying dejectedly, "Boring, winning isn't fun at all." The referee announced again, next, Han Shan will fight Gu Yong, Zhuge Yunfan will fight Lu Feng, and Jiang Yiyun will fight Zi Yun. Zhao Yirong asked Zhang Yijian, "Master, you must have a mission for us this time, right?" Zhang Yijian chuckled and said, "No, I just want to take you for some practical training. Although cultivation is very important, real combat is even more so." A few hours passed, and the victor was revealed. The three, Han Shan, Zhuge Yunfan, and Jiang Yiyun, all won this round. The three who lay on the ground in defeat were unconvinced and angrily said, "Damn it, how did we lose?" At this moment, Lei Patian announced, "The competition has ended, and the winners this time are Zhang Yijian, Zhao Yirong, Jiang Yiyun, Han Shan, Zhao Kongyun, Kong Hua, Zhuge Yunfan, Han Shan, Yi Shuai." After announcing the number of winners, he continued, "As the organizers, Qin Xianzi and I have obtained the exemption quota and will represent the Lei Ting sect to enter the minor realm." Hearing this, Zhang Yijian grimaced and said, "Exemption? How shameless." Lei Patian raised a token of some sort and said, "Next, it is time to open the minor realm. Those who wish to enter must do so within a moment." At this moment, a space to enter the secret realm opened up in the sky. Everyone was in a flurry, shouting, "Run inside quickly. Go in, the divine weapons inside are mine. No one should think they can steal them." Zhang Yijian did not waste any time and ran in with his two disciples, saying, "Let's go, we should enter as well." Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun followed closely and replied in unison, "Understood." Inside the minor realm Thunder God Temple, Lei Patian stood in front of the group entering the minor realm. The Thunder God Temple has a total of 8 levels. The first 3 levels have been explored, but no divine weapons were found. Upon hearing this, Han Shan was even more excited, saying, "Great, my chance has come." Zhuge Yunfan added, "As long as we obtain the divine weapons, our Black Star sect can immediately become a top-tier sect." As soon as he finished speaking, several tremors erupted from the ground beneath their feet, causing everyone to struggle to maintain their balance. Zhuge Yunfan looked down in confusion, exclaiming in suspicion. The ground suddenly exploded, causing everyone present to stumble. "What's going on?" Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun also lost their balance and fell backward. The two screamed in fear as they fell below. Not only that, everyone who had entered the minor realm fell into a large abyss. Han Shan shouted in panic, "Damn it, there's a trap here." Zhang Yijian chased after them, catching his two disciples in his arms, and instructed, "Be careful." The three of them fell down together. Zhang Yijian gritted his teeth and held them tightly. He angrily commanded, "Break it." A bolt of lightning struck down, shattering the sharp stones below. Zhao Yirong cried out in fear, "Ah! Ugh!" The debris flew wildly, but all three landed safely. Zhang Yijian furrowed his brows and asked, "Are you all okay?" Jiang Yiyun sat up and replied, "I'm fine." Zhao Yirong added, "Just a bit of pain, that's all." Someone's foot approached. The clanking sound of armor made Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun exchange confused glances. "Oh, what sound is that?" A guy who seems to be the leader, followed by a few soldiers, approaches and says, "Yo, is this a new guest?" The two girls, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, fearfully run behind Zhang Yijian and huddle close, saying, "Master, there's someone here. I have a bad feeling about this." Zhang Yijian doesn't pay much attention to these people in front of him and says, "Master brought you here for some training. The test has arrived." He directly pushes his two disciples forward and says loudly, "You two, do your best." Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun stare blankly at the scene before them. The guy is furious at Zhang Yijian's actions and yells, "You actually pushed two women to the front? What a useless person." Jiang Yiyun, hearing him, points her sword at him and angrily says, "Don't talk about my master like that." Upon hearing the word, "master," he is taken aback and says, "Master." Then he bursts out laughing, mocking, "A useless person trying to be a master. That's just too funny." The two individuals, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, could no longer tolerate the insults and rushed forward, shouting, "Shut up. You cannot insult my master." He was not to be underestimated either. He planted his sword into the ground to create an imposing aura and shouted, "Get lost." The two were quickly knocked back, exclaiming, "Ah, ugh." They steadied themselves after being pushed back and said to each other, "Damn, this guy is really strong. Who on earth is he?" Zhang Yijian, sitting on the side munching on a melon while watching the drama unfold, cheerfully encouraged them, "Come on, you guys are the strongest." The two female disciples looked at each other in confusion. The guy found the scene increasingly amusing and said loudly, "A useless person leading two foolish apprentices, how entertaining. All soldiers, obey my orders. Kill all the intruders in Thunder God Temple." A group of soldiers charged forward, shouting, "Kill." At this moment, Zhao Yirong also braved the situation and shouted to her junior sister, "If master has taken us out for training, then we cannot let him lose face." Jiang Yiyun agreed, responding, "Right, we must show them the results of our training." Zhao Yirong charged forward, shouting, "Kill," and then unleashed a powerful strike. Immediately, the group of soldiers was attacked by her, falling back and shouting, "Ah!" Jiang Yiyun also rushed forward, swinging her sword to slash horizontally at them. She landed on the ground, brandishing her sword in defense, accompanied by the screams of the soldiers. The man observed this coordination between the two and couldn't help but sigh, can they really kill their own elite soldiers? These two women are quite strong. The soldiers gathered together, discussing, their strength is not weak, we cannot fight them head-on. Everyone, follow orders, form a formation. The soldiers charged again, responding in unison, understood. They quickly set up a 5 elements formation around the two courageous women. Ha, ah. Afterwards, like bloodthirsty demons, they all charged forward aggressively, shouting, kill. Jiang Yiyun refused to back down, charging up to confront them directly, slashing with her sword. They created a defensive shield, stopping Jiang Yiyun's attack. Zhao Yirong saw this and felt a bit panicked, saying, "What is that?" Jiang Yiyun, also suspicious, guessed, "Is it a defensive formation?" At that moment, two soldiers rushed forward with their swords, shouting loudly, "No one in this formation can survive. Just be obedient and accept your fate." Jiang Yiyun struggled a bit after taking a strike from him and stepped back. Zhao Yirong quickly ran over, creating a shield in front of Jiang Yiyun, painfully saying, "Junior sister, if we can't break the formation, we will be dragged into that place of death." The leader standing outside scoffed disdainfully, saying, "Anyone who intrudes into the Thunder God Temple will not survive." Zhang Yijian over here finally finished eating a piece of melon, threw it away, and scoffed, "You really haven't mastered your skills yet." Saying that, he took out several divine weapons, saying, "It seems I still need to encourage you more." The leader was terrified when he saw those divine weapons and stared wide-eyed, saying, "Damn it, what are those things? Why are they all divine weapons of divine level pressure like this?" Zhang Yijian ignored him and threw two divine weapons to his disciples, saying, "Students, catch this." Both of them reached out, quickly catching the divine weapons, responding, "Thank you, Master." The soldiers charged up to attack again, shouting, "Stop struggling in vain, just die." Jiang Yiyun felt empowered, swinging his sword forward, striking directly at them. The sword chi hit the formation, immediately causing it to collapse within seconds. Not only that, the sword aura attacked several soldiers, making them scream in agony. Zhao Yirong, full of momentum like a ferocious white tiger, raised his hand and shouted, "Get out of my way." The tiger obeyed, charging forward, roaring fiercely. After a moment, as the dust settled, the soldiers lay sprawled on the ground. He saw his entire army decimated and couldn't believe his eyes, screaming, "How could this happen? Have they really killed all my soldiers?" He no longer underestimated the situation, raising his sword infused with spiritual energy, saying, "I have underestimated you." He hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward, leaping up, brandishing his sword and gritting his teeth as he shouted, "I will personally take your heads." He used all his strength to slash down with a powerful blow of spiritual energy, yelling, "Everyone shall be buried below." Zhao Yirong quickly stepped forward, creating a shield in front of herself and Jiang Yiyun, saying, "Be careful." She tensed herself, trying to resist the powerful oppressive force, but it didn't last long. The protective shield was shattered. Zhao Yirong was also pushed back by the oppressive force and exclaimed, "Ah!" In pain, she hugged her injured arm and stepped back. Seeing this, Jiang Yiyun grabbed her sword and rushed forward to stand in front of her senior sister, protecting her, saying, "This is bad, senior sister is in trouble." Zhao Yirong looked at the man and couldn't help but feel fear, thinking to herself, "What weapon does he have? It's even stronger than the one master gave." In less than a moment, Jiang Yiyun could no longer hold on and was blasted backward, crying out, "Ah!" Both of them struggled to stand against his initial attack. He was pleased, laughing heartily, preparing to swing his blade again, saying, "Take another hit from me." At this moment, Zhang Yijian also could no longer sit idly by and came out to support the two disciples. He smiled gently and said, "Good disciples. The courage you all have makes me, your master, very happy. Rest for a bit, leave the rest to me." Hearing Zhang Yijian's words, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun couldn't help but feel a surge of joy. Meanwhile, the opponent, seeing that all three of Zhang Yijian's disciples were still alive and well, became furious and exclaimed, "What? Why aren't they dead yet?" Zhang Yijian angrily looked at his two disciples, then turned to the man and asked, "Hey, injuring my disciples is a crime punishable by death. Are you ready to face your fate?" The man, still oblivious to the situation, arrogantly pointed his sword at Zhang Yijian and shouted, "A useless person who hides behind women dares to threaten me?" As he finished speaking, he aggressively lunged forward with his blade, shouting, "You're courting death." He swung his sword, but Zhang Yijian, without a trace of emotion, effortlessly dodged the attack. Seeing this, the man sneered and said, "Trying to match my speed? You're still far too slow. With that, he roared like a tiger and charged again, his blade slashing downward with immense force. Zhang Yijian glanced over, and the blade was already inches away from his face, seemingly unavoidable. Seeing this, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun screamed in fear, "Damn it! Master can't be, no way." But Zhang Yijian played a reverse psychological game with him, directly turning around and slapping him hard in the face, causing blood to spout and sending him flying backward. Both Zhao Yirong stared at the scene, their mouths agape, looking at the human-shaped kite soaring through the air. Zhang Yijian, still not done with his punches, chased after him at a lightning speed, swinging his fist in flames, mocking him, and asking, "Is this the fastest speed you can muster?" He was grabbed by Zhang Yijian by the head and, feeling unwilling, asked, "Can you tell me how you can be this fast?" With a cold expression, Zhang Yijian leaned in and told him, "This type of maneuver in the game is called an inexplicable combo." After explaining, Zhang Yijian forcefully slammed his head down onto the ground with great intensity. The guy was still unwilling to accept it and shouted, "In reality, are you saying you are in a game?" He yelled in frustration, "You are clearly a useless person, using women as a shield. Let's make a bet for 10 years. On this day, 10 years from now." He spoke and then laughed calculatingly, thinking to himself, "This little guy seems easy to talk to. First, let's placate him. No one will find me in 10 years. Ha ha ha." However, contrary to his thoughts, Zhang Yijian stomped his foot down on him and said, "10 years? Can't wait." He drew out a blade, swung it across, and said, "Today is feasible." As the chop approached, he dodged to the side, furious, and desperately exclaimed, "Then let's all die together." Seeing him showing signs of going berserk, Zhang Yijian quickly jumped back and shouted, "This is bad. Quickly hide behind me." Zhao Yirong pointed at something in front and said, "Master, what is that?" At that moment, a small fireball appeared, floating towards the three of them. Zhang Yijian frowned, took the ball to examine it, and said, "There's something inside this ball." He threw it away to let it explode, then said, "Let's open it and see." Inside, unexpectedly, there was a map. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, upon seeing the map, were delighted and exclaimed, "It's a map. Above, the location is marked, it must be hidden treasure land." The two ran to Zhang Yijian and excitedly said to him, "Master, how about we go and take a look at this hidden treasure land?" "That's right, let's go take a look, Master." Zhang Yijian smiled lightly and asked, "Why go there? Hidden treasure land is not as good as going home to cultivate. We might as well." Zhao Yirong whined to Zhang Yijian, saying, "Please, Master. Going out is a form of experience." Jiang Yiyun also chimed in, "Exactly, we can take a stroll while we're at it." Zhang Yijian held the map in his hand, pondering, "After all, we need to explore. As long as we follow the map, who knows, we might get an unexpected reward." Behind them, both Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi had also entered. As Lei Patian walked in and saw Zhang Yijian, he scoffed disdainfully, saying, "Really, just a tongue-in-cheek statement, claiming it's a stroll." Qing Xianzi spoke up, "Master, when you mentioned that location, are you referring to the divine sword?" "Master, this little guy is no slouch, it won't be easy for us to seize it." Lei Patian had a plan in mind and spoke to reassure him, "The appetizer has been served, and now it's time for the main course." On this side, Zhang Yijian led the way, holding the map and following along. The two disciples moved ahead, and he said, "This must be the place. I'm a bit lost." Suddenly, he saw something and exclaimed in surprise. Before him was a crystal-clear lake, and the spiritual energy was incredibly strong. The two girls, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, were a bit surprised and walked over curiously to take a look, saying, "The spiritual energy is indeed potent. The spiritual energy here must be 10 times that of the outside." Zhang Yijian found it a bit interesting and checked the map again. "If that's the case, I have high hopes for this hidden treasure land." He turned around and said, "Disciples, why don't we cultivate here?" Before he could finish his sentence, he was shocked to see his two disciples casually taking off their clothes with the intention of going for a swim in the lake, causing his nose to bleed at the HD scene before him. Zhao Yirong, bathing comfortably in the water, responded, cultivate. Why don't you join us for some cultivation too, Master? Jiang Yiyun also agreed, that's right. Master, hurry up and come. The spiritual energy in this lake is no less than that of the Jade Maiden Heart Sutra. Zhang Yijian remembered the scene from the previous day when he and his two disciples practiced together, making him blush and stammer, rest is rest. You all just focus on your cultivation. I'll rest here. He turned his head back and continued, the spiritual energy in the spiritual lake is very rich, and the cultivation speed here indeed increases a lot. Once my disciple breaks through, my cultivation will definitely be able to respond 100-fold. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun sensed a powerful wave of spiritual energy surging within them, feeling quite comfortable, and exclaimed, ah! The spiritual energy seems to be entering every meridian in the body. So comfortable. On Zhang Yijian's side, the system announced, the host's disciple is accelerating cultivation, and the cultivation response is pending settlement. Zhang Yijian stroked his chin and said, it's here. I wonder how much it can respond this time. A sword flew past, catching his attention. The sword was very close, causing Zhang Yijian to widen his eyes in surprise. Around him, he immediately unleashed a shield of golden light, repelling that sword. Zhang Yijian furrowed his brow and cursed, damn. If it weren't for this golden shield, I would have become a Caribbean pirate. Zhang Yijian threw away the sword and casually asked, what the hell is going on here? The two people, Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi, were hiding, and one of them, irritated by the strange comment, said, what Caribbean? Is that phrase an insult to someone in the waterfall? I feel the same way, it must be an insult, another person said. Zhang Yijian pointed directly at the two hiding over there and shouted, do you have any new tricks up your sleeve? Lei Patian looked dumbfounded and said, you discovered us already? Zhang Yijian sneered and replied, I discovered you back on the night of the formation breaking. Lei Patian exclaimed in confusion, if that's the case, then why expose us now? Zhang Yijian yawned, then smiled faintly and said, because I wanted to see what other tricks you had. Qing Xianzi, infuriated, said, Master, we're being toyed with. Lei Patian snorted arrogantly and said, in the face of absolute power, everything is futile. Zhang Yijian challenged both of them and waved his hand provocatively, come on, absolute power, huh? Lei Patian and Qing Xianzi could no longer contain themselves and unleashed their strength to charge forward. Arrogant. With just a fraction of my power, I could take your life. Qing Xianzi shouted fiercely, Master, kill him instantly. Let me get the map. Zhang Yijian jumped to evade Lei Patian's punch. But Qing Xianzi wasn't done, he swung a punch from behind. However, Zhang Yijian easily dodged it. Seizing the opportunity, Zhang Yijian tightly grasped Qing Xianzi's hand and smirked, readying his punch, saying, didn't you always want the painting? Zhang Yijian punched forward, delivering a blow that made him cry out, "Eh!" Seeing he couldn't match Zhang Yijian, Lei Patian took out his ultimate skill and shouted, I summon the soul essence, invoking the heavenly thunder to break the law, the 9 mysterious divine thunder. At his call, powerful thunderbolts struck down from above. But that was not enough to make Zhang Yijian afraid. He raised his hand high to gather that lightning power, disdainfully saying, is that all? Seeing Zhang Yijian easily controlling that lightning power made Lei Patian's eyes widen in shock as he shouted, how is this, lightning, possible? Zhang Yijian countered that lightning power and returned it to him, loudly declaring, do you like this lightning so much? Here, take it back. The attack that was returned to him severely injured him, sending him crashing backward, hitting the ground and spitting blood. He gritted his teeth in anger, pulled out a yellow talisman, and stubbornly said, it seems I have to use some special techniques now. He transformed the lightning power again, charging forward and shouting, the lightning talisman will help me break through quickly. I will not lose. At this moment, Zhang Yijian ignited the spirit flame and said with surprise, oh really? Lei Patian was about to launch his technique, shouting, break for me. Zhang Yijian sneered and proclaimed, today, let's compare to see who breaks through stronger. The system announced, update. Disciples cultivation assessment complete, cultivation returned 100-fold. After the system announced, Zhang Yijian immediately shouted loudly, breakthrough, with a wave of maximum spiritual energy. Lei Patian was once again incredulous at the scene before him, exclaiming, "How is this possible?" He actually broke through. Qing Xianzi, injured and lying on the ground, angrily thought, "It's over. This guy is a monster, we have no chance of winning." Lei Patian stubbornly raised his sword high, shouting, "No. I absolutely cannot lose." Zhang Yijian laughed loudly, raised his hand to create a wave of fire energy, and said, "Do you dare to charge again?" A giant hand was created, reaching out to catch Lei Patian. He was crushed by that heavenly fire hand, painfully coughing up blood, and was then thrown down hard onto the ground. He screamed, "I really lost." Qing Xianzi struggled to crawl over with his broken body and supported Lei Patian. Then he quickly fled. Zhang Yijian looked on, surprised, "Huh." They ran away. Zhang Yijian didn't care much and turned back to where his two disciples were immersed in their cultivation, saying, "Forget it, they have already received their punishment. If they dare come again, kill them." Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun were delighted to see Zhang Yijian return and said, "Master, I have broken through to the mid-stage of foundation establishment. I have also broken through." Zhang Yijian replied as he landed, saying, "Not bad. This time, Master did not bring you two here for nothing." The two of them went outside. Zhang Yijian then said, "Dry your clothes, we will continue our journey." Meanwhile, Zhuge Yunfan and his two disciples entered. He spoke up, "This must be the 6th floor. Everyone search carefully and do not miss any traces of the sword god." The two behind him replied in unison, "Yes." As they were walking ahead, a dark shadow suddenly darted past them from behind at great speed. Zhuge Yunfan noticed it and quickly turned around to investigate. The black-haired disciple, confused by his actions, asked, "Zhuge Elder, what is it?" Zhuge Yunfan looked left and right and said, "There is something." Suddenly, the black-clad disciple was grabbed by something and pulled up high, shouting. When Zhuge Yunfan turned back, he could no longer see him. Another white-haired disciple was also swiftly taken away right in front of Zhuge Yunfan. At that moment, he could no longer maintain his composure and shouted, "What on earth is it? Show yourself." But suddenly, he froze in place, staring in shock. Something on the roof at that time revealed a gigantic spider with an incredibly grotesque human face. Then, a painful scream echoed from him. Zhang Yijian and his two female disciples had just arrived and heard his voice. Zhang Yijian frowned and said, "Oh, it seems to be Zhuge Yunfan's voice." The two female disciples behind him timidly spoke up, "Master, I'm a bit scared." Jiang Yiyun also said, "The path ahead is necessary to pass through, are we going or not?" Zhang Yijian calmly replied, "Of course, we're going. Follow me." Zhao Yirong opened the door and entered. Zhang Yijian led the way and said, "The sound is coming from here." Zhao Yirong looked around, puzzled, "Where is the person?" Zhang Yijian suddenly shouted, "Wait," and cautiously warned, "The breath here is very strange." Behind the three of them, a dark shadow with blood-red eyes darted by. Zhang Yijian immediately drew his sword, ready to defend. Behind Zhao Yirong, a large spider thread shot toward her. But Zhang Yijian promptly discovered it and wielded his sword, cutting it away. He hurriedly ran behind Jiang Yiyun, severing the webs behind her. He stood in front, shielding the two, saying, "Disciple, be careful. There must be a mythical beast here." Jiang Yiyun pointed to one side, calling out loudly, "Master, look over there. It's the Zhuge Yunfan group." The three members of Zhuge Yunfan were now wrapped in webs, hanging upside down. The black-haired disciple cried out in fear, "Help." Zhuge Yunfan had no way to talk to him, "It's useless, they will definitely die here too." The spider monster slowly crawled down, revealing its body, grinning meagerly and saying, "You are the first ones to escape my trap." Zhao Yirong felt a bit nauseous upon seeing its face and said, "Ah, that spider is so ugly." Zhang Yijian looked at the spider and asked, do you want to block my way? The spider replied, shall we play a game? If you win, I will let everyone go. Zhang Yijian raised his sword before him and asked her, what game? The spider conjured two monsters made of spider silk that emerged from the ground and said, you go save the people who have been captured. If you can rescue them within 15 minutes, I will let you pass. Zhang Yijian did not waste any time, grabbed his sword, and charged forward, decisively saying, okay. The three monsters spat out strands of silk to attack him. Zhang Yijian was instantly caught, and his legs became tightly ensnared in the silk. Zhuge Yunfan, frightened, shouted, kid, don't come here. That mythical beast has at least level 6 cultivation, invincible under the realm of saving lives. The strands of silk kept increasing in number. Zhang Yijian panicked as the strands were getting close to his head. Then, without wasting much time, Zhang Yijian's entire body was wrapped up like a large cocoon. The two girls, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, were terrified and yelled, Master. The spider laughed heartily and said, you're dead so soon. You're no different from a useless fool. Just as it finished speaking, Zhang Yijian exploded, using fire to burn all the silk and slap its face. It opened its mouth wide in shock and stared, looking up to assess the situation. Zhang Yijian made no unnecessary movements, raising his sword high and delivering a sharp blow toward Zhuge Yunfan and the others. All three of them were rescued at the same time and fell to the ground. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun watched Zhang Yijian safely and couldn't help but feel joyful, saying, that's great, the master is fine. The spider looked down in astonishment, unable to believe it, and shouted, how can this be? How did he escape? Zhang Yijian unleashed a barrage of attacks with his thunderfire technique, quickly setting the large cocoons ablaze. The spider glanced down and then burst into hearty laughter, saying, this is so much fun. I haven't felt this happy in 100 years. Zhang Yijian landed and looked at it sternly, saying, I have won this game, please let us go. It was not stubborn and said, if you play, you must accept the consequences, please come inside. Zhuge Yunfan and the two disciples looked on in confusion, saying, is it really possible to leave? Zhang Yijian turned around and said, what are you waiting for? Let's go. Everyone was taken aback by this and quickly ran inside, responding, yes. The spider watched them with a chuckle, thinking, want to leave? I haven't had enough fun yet. Entering, Zhuge Yunfan spoke, thank you, Daoist friend Zhang, for your assistance today. Zhang Yijian chuckled lightly and said, I just didn't want to get involved with that mythical beast, don't think I actually wanted to save you. Ah yes, yes, the blonde man approached and leaned close to him, saying, Elder, this little guy is really quite cheeky. Shall we find an opportunity to deal with him? He was annoyed as well, but still managed to hold back and said, for now, let's not do anything, just wait. The three of them, Zhang Yijian, entered inside. Zhao Yirong looked up and asked, Master, is it a dead end? Jiang Yiyun, puzzled, said, but there is a clearly marked path on the map. Zhang Yijian stepped forward and touched the wall in front of him, brushing off the dust, revealing a locked secret passage. Zhang Yijian peered inside, stroked his chin, and said, there's a keyhole but no key. He turned around and called out, everyone, let's search together. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun spread out to look, replied, yes. Zhuge Yunfan also turned away, instructing his two disciples, let's go too, search carefully and don't miss anything. Yes, Elder. The three people at this moment did not notice that above on the pole, a small spider was descending. It gently jumped onto Zhuge Yunfan, then bit him on the back of his neck. He felt pain and quickly reached behind, exclaiming in surprise. The orange-haired man heard the sound and turned back, asking, what happened, Elder? He brushed it off and said, it's nothing, it seems like a mosquito bite. Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun gathered around Zhang Yijian and said, Master, we have searched everywhere, but we haven't found anything. Zhuge Yunfan also approached and said, we haven't found anything over here either. Zhang Yijian, confused, said, how strange. If there's a keyhole, there should be a key. Where could it be? Zhuge Yunfan spoke up again. Each level of the Thunder Tower has guardian spirits. Perhaps the key is on that guardian spirit. Zhang Yijian turned and furrowed his brows, asking, "Are you saying the human-faced spider outside?" Zhuge Yunfan replied, "Exactly." He decisively turned to head outside, saying, "Then you all stay here, while I go check on it for a while." Jiang Yiyun anxiously warned him, "Master, be careful." He didn't turn around but replied, "Don't worry, we will fight swiftly and win quickly." Inside the hall, countless little spiders had appeared at some point, making a noisy chi-chi sound. The spiders slowly crawled up the legs of a disciple, then crawled all over his body and bit him fiercely. He writhed in pain, crying out. Seeing him like that, Zhuge Yunfan quickly distanced himself and anxiously asked, "What's going on?" Then, even more spiders began swarming around. Jiang Yiyun, frightened, screamed, "Ah! There are so many spiders." Zhang Yijian had approached the spirit spider outside, asking, "Do you have a key to this level?" The spider grinned excitedly, saying, "You still have to come back. If you want the key, I can give it to you, but you have to play 2 games. Zhang Yijian, losing patience, asked, "What games?" It revealed a wicked smile, saying, "The game of death. I've been playing this game for hundreds of years and no one has been able to defeat me. You are the first one who has piqued my interest." Zhang Yijian firmly asked, "Speak up. How to play, huh?" The silver spider said again, "I don't intend to kill you first. Therefore, in the first round, I bet whether you can save your disciple or not." Zhang Yijian suddenly realized, frowned, then quickly ran away, saying, "We're in trouble." Jiang Yiyun swung her sword and shouted, "Those spiders, ah! Ugly spider, get lost." Zhao Yirong used her lightning spear to kill them, while the blonde disciple was helpless, crying out, "Help." Zhuge Yunfan used his protective vital energy to surround his body, saying, "Damn it. We fell for the trap." The 2 girls, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, were forced into a circle, leaning back against each other. She reassured her senior sister, "Don't be afraid. Although there are many small spiders, their attack power isn't very strong." At that moment, the nearby pillar began to crack and then collapsed. A monster with sharp fangs and claws appeared. It slowly mutated, growing 3 legs, then screamed and spawned countless monsters like it. The 2 girls, Zhao Yirong, were astonished at this transformation, saying, "What kind of monster is this?" The group quickly bared their sharp-toothed mouths and ran towards them. Jiang Yiyun, undeterred, charged forward with her sword and thrust it at the creature. But it quickly detected her, kicking her away forcefully. Zhao Yirong swung her palm, shouting, "Die." Another monster attacked from behind, delivering a palm strike to her back that made her spit blood. Both were injured and fell to the ground. Now, only Zhuge Yunfan remained. They slowly approached, causing him to panic, saying, Don't come here." 2 monsters charged towards him, but unexpectedly, they suddenly flew in another direction and stopped attacking him. Zhuge Yunfan stared in confusion, saying, "What is happening? Why aren't they attacking me?" Over here, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun were surrounded by them. She angrily shouted, "Damn it! They've surrounded us." The group lunged forward, growling menacingly. Both were terrified, shutting their eyes and screaming. At that moment, Zhang Yijian just arrived in time, delivering an angry palm strike, yelling, "Get lost, you beasts." Zhang Yijian punched straight down into the ground, causing them to recoil in pain. Zhuge Yunfan looked on in amazement, not blinking, and said, "So powerful." The monsters surged forward to attack Zhang Yijian. He gathered a fire-based attack in his hand, angrily gritting his teeth, "Dare to harm my disciple." Then, he unleashed a palm strike, shouting, "Destroy them." With that strike, all of them were burned to ashes, flying out in pain. They turned to dust, and the white smoke gradually dissipated. After he dealt with them, he turned to ask his 2 disciples, "Are you 2 unharmed?" Jiang Yiyun replied, "Master, don't worry. We are all fine." Zhao Yirong admired him and said, "Master, that's so cool. I love it. At that moment, a space appeared in the sky. The spider demon crawled out from inside, constantly clicking its tongue, saying, "This game is getting more and more exciting." Zhang Yijian stood in front of his two disciples, remaining alert, and said loudly, "Be careful." Suddenly, it stuck out its long tongue, entwined with a key. It brought it in front of Zhang Yijian and said, "Is this the key you wanted?" The third game is very simple. The battle for the key. If you win, you take it. If you lose, everyone will die. Zhao Yirong was anxious and said, "Be careful, there's a trap." Zhang Yijian chuckled lightly and said, "Don't worry. In front of absolute power, all the flashy tricks are in vain." The spider laughed loudly upon hearing this, saying, "Interesting. It seems that winning 2 rounds has made you lose sight of yourself. Just a toy in my eyes, and yet you dare to provoke me? In the past 100 years, I have killed countless people, not lacking a stubborn one like you. Today, you won't escape." Saying that, it swung its tail, shooting sharp spikes towards Zhang Yijian. But he showed no fear and leaped forward, easily dodging the numerous small spikes. Seeing this, it was a bit surprised and exclaimed, "You avoided it." Zhang Yijian struck out a palm attack and shouted, "You think a half-baked trick can kill me? Dream on." It didn't sit idle, launching a large web of silk to block Zhang Yijian's attack. In the force of that power, the threads of silk rushed out, wrapping around him. Then it exploded again in mid-air, causing it to laugh triumphantly, "So arrogant, die for me." But when the white smoke dissipated, Zhang Yijian seemed unscathed. He clasped his hands together and shouted the formula, "Infinite Hand." Then he added a word of defense, and 2 enormous hands descended from above, slamming down onto its face, crushing it in between and causing it pain, making it scream in agony. It cried out in pain, spitting blood, shouting, "No. Impossible. How can I lose to the human clan?" It fell down, exclaiming, "Ha!" Taking the opportunity, Zhang Yijian continued to attack, yelling, "Go die." But suddenly, his expression grew serious and he froze. From behind, he was unexpectedly attacked by Zhuge Yunfan. The 2 girls, Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, anxiously called out, "Master." That spider lay on the ground, but still victorious, taunting, "You think you've won? To guard against unforeseen circumstances, I had already set up my pieces in advance. What do you have to fight me with?" Zhang Yijian unexpectedly asked, the envoy. Seeing Zhang Yijian's expression, he became smug and said, "Little guy, you came from somewhere else, didn't you? I've killed no fewer than 10 of your kind, Holy Mother." The others loudly joined in, shouting, "Get out of here. You're going to ruin the sacrifice, you can't bear the responsibility." Zhang Yijian didn't say he was afraid of them but erupted in anger, gritting his teeth. "I'll say it again, Meng Qi and I have a connection. Let her go." The others disregarded him and laughed loudly. "A little ant from elsewhere dares to be so arrogant." Zhang Yijian, furious, charged forward and shouted, "Do you look down on me? Take that." He was punched hard and his mouth turned crooked, letting out a cry. Meng Qi, sitting inside, heard the commotion outside and felt scared, saying, "This is bad. Big brother has hit the messenger, he's definitely dead now." Angry from being struck, he commanded, "Dare to hit me? Kill him." Zhang Yijian struck down with a palm, dismissively saying, "You're just a bunch of misfits." With this blow, the others were injured and fell to the ground, crying out in pain. He looked at this scene in shock and said, This little guy actually has some strength." He twirled the staff in his hand and said, "It seems I have to take matters into my own hands." The souls trapped in the staff were released, some crying, others laughing, rushing toward Zhang Yijian. He looked at them and said, "You have no sense." Then, he teleported again, swinging a punch and saying, "Then I will give you a good beating." He was so astonished that he froze, saying, "You actually used your body to pierce through my soul that I have been refining for years." Zhang Yijian wouldn't let him speak much and struck him with a palm. He groaned in pain, clutching his chest and widening his eyes, saying, "Impossible." Meng Qi was shocked and said, "Did Big Brother really kill the deity's envoy?" Zhang Yijian approached the palanquin, smiled lightly, and asked, "Little sister, Big Brother saved you, how should you repay me? Meng Qi stepped out of the palanquin and hesitated, saying, I am an orphan who grew up by begging, I have nothing. Zhang Yijian smiled gently and said, from now on, follow me as my disciple, and let master take care of you. Meng Qi gasped in surprise and happily asked, really? Zhang Yijian patted her head and said, of course. She joyfully jumped up and hugged him, saying, great. Thank you, master. The system displayed a notification, congratulations to the master for successfully collecting a disciple. The girl looked up and said, that's right. Master, the one who killed the messenger, will surely have the villagers report to deity. It's better to escape quickly. Zhang Yijian listened to her and asked, have you ever met deity? Meng Qi replied, I've never met him, but he always exists and grants great power to the villagers. Jiang Yiyun looked at the map and said, master, the map shows the location on the 8th floor. Zhao Yirong also said, we need to find the guard of this floor to get through. Meng Qi then said, I know where the guard is. Zhang Yijian asked again, really? The surviving individuals were kneeling before a large stone tablet, saying, Sword God, the offering has been stolen by others, please have mercy and spare us this time. The Sword God appeared, angrily shouting, useless bunch, you couldn't even protect the offering. He waved his hand, unleashing spiritual energy, saying, what use is it to keep you alive? They were sent flying away, screaming in fear. He called out loudly, where is the sword servant? Han Shan and 2 subordinates appeared, kneeling on the ground, saying, here I am. He ordered, go find the one who stole the offering for me. If you find them, kill them without mercy. He and his 2 disciples responded in unison, yes. On this side, Meng Qi led Zhang Yijian and the 2 Zhao Yirong up ahead, saying, in the past, I got lost and encountered someone guarding this place. She extended her hand and pointed ahead, saying, that is inside. Zhao Yirong felt a bit scared, pointed ahead, and said, master, look over there. The Buddha statue that Han Shan and several disciples had seen was now right in front of them. Zhang Yijian expressed his confusion and said, how could there be a Buddha statue in such a desolate place? Jiang Yiyun spotted something and said, there is sword intent above. At that moment, the Buddha statue appeared to crack and then suddenly shattered. From inside emerged a red monster with sharp claws. Meng Qi pointed at it and called out, master, it's the guardian. Zhang Yijian was taken aback and said, what? The 2 Zhao Yirong approached it and said, it has the key to enter the 8th floor, let's search for it. Zhang Yijian fell silent, thinking to himself, strange, how could the guardian be dead? Could someone have arrived before us? After a while, Zhao Yirong reported, master, the key is not on the corpse. The sound of the wind rustled past. Zhang Yijian seemed to realize something and turned his face back, grunting. Han Shan suddenly appeared, swinging his sword and striking from behind Zhang Yijian. He quickly dodged and looked at him in surprise, asking, Han Shan, why are you here too? Receiving no response, 2 of Han Shan's disciples charged at him from behind, wielding their swords. He quickly jumped up to avoid the attack. He had to continue fighting them. As he struck out with his palm, he thought, their eyes are lifeless, as if they are under some kind of control. With one powerful palm, Zhang Yijian knocked the 2 disciples down to the ground. Above, on a branch, the sword god was watching with his arms crossed, snorting as he said, I found it. I want to see what skills he has to dare steal my offerings. Meanwhile, Han Shan continued to slash down with his sword, but Zhang Yijian was able to block the blade with just one hand. He grunted, gritting his teeth, and pushed the sword down. Zhang Yijian easily broke through his defenses and frowned as he said, I'm truly sorry, but today you must die. He then struck the man with a palm, sending him flying away. The sword god was startled and exclaimed, cultivation that saves lives in the early stage? This type of cultivation is rare instead. However, as a divine weapon divine level incarnation, killing him is as easy as killing an ant. An explosion suddenly erupted. He was shocked and asked, what is that? Zhang Yijian was sitting on a mountain of divine weapon divine level, surrounded by all kinds of gold and silver, and said, it's all divine weapon divine level. The sword god gaped, thinking, huh? When did I become so worthless? Meanwhile, Zhang Yijian held up something that looked like a compass and said, "Found it." Zhao Yirong looked at it, confused, and asked, "Master, what is this?" Zhang Yijian replied, "A type of divine weapon that can lock down aura. The guardian is dead, the key must be nearby, let me have a look." At this moment, a few people who wanted to sacrifice Meng Qi ran over, shouting, "Sword God, we finally found you." One of them angrily pointed at Zhang Yijian and said, "It was him who stole the sacrificial offerings." Zhang Yijian held the item in his hand, looked at them, and said, "Ah, the key is right in front of us." The sword god descended from above and said, "All right. Although I don't know where he got that divine weapon of divine level, it does not affect my noble status. If I can seize those divine weapons, it would also be a kind of compensation." Zhang Yijian saw the divine weapon in his hand glowing, looked at the man, and said, "Oh, the key is on him." Meng Qi approached and grabbed Zhang Yijian, calling out in fear, "Master, that person is a god, an incredibly powerful one." Zhang Yijian dismissed him, saying, "What god? Isn't that just a spirit sword?" The man was astonished to hear Zhang Yijian's words, thinking, "He can see my identity? Damn it! This cannot be revealed to the outside. I must kill them." He unleashed his spiritual energy, thinking, "My aura is enough to suppress cultivators in the mid-stage of saving lives, so first I will scare them into wetting their pants." But contrary to his expectations, Zhang Yijian was asking his disciples, "Does anyone among you like this spirit sword? If he likes it, the master will lower it and give it to those kids." Zhao Yirong immediately listened, her eyes sparkling, and said, "The spirit sword is so handsome. I really like it." He heard those people talking, and felt confused, "Huh? They don't even regard me as anything, it's as if I'm a toy." The guys behind were furious, shouting loudly, "Dare to offend the sword god? You are definitely going to die. These useless people deserve punishment." Zhang Yijian ignored those unimportant guys and looked at the spirit sword, saying, "Hey, my disciple has taken an interest in you, so why not willingly surrender?" The guy, hearing Zhang Yijian, was infuriated, shouting, "You bastard! Daring to give orders to me!" He unleashed a wave of sword chi, yelling, looking for death. Zhang Yijian was not afraid of him, summoning his hand seal, and said, "There is only one chance to surrender, if you don't take it." He struck with his palm, saying, "Then don't blame me for being rude." He took the hit and cried out, "Ha!" falling backward. He panted heavily and knelt down. Gritting his teeth, he thought, how could this happen? He is just a guy who has just broken through to save lives, yet he can withstand his own terrifying aura. Zhang Yijian struck with a series of blows, saying, "Watch the infinite hand." He managed to evade all those techniques and counterattacked, saying, "Oh, I thought you were strong, turns out it's just fluff." Zhang Yijian snickered, saying, "All right, then let's play." He then continued to unleash a series of strikes on him. He could only stand there taking the hits while crying out in pain. The others watching this couldn't help but be stunned, saying, "Oh my god, even the sword god is being defeated. This deity couldn't block a single move. Just how strong is that man?" After a moment, he couldn't hold on any longer and lay on the ground, saying, "Damn it, how did it come to this?" Zhang Yijian walked over, lifted his foot, and stepped on him. He chuckled softly and said, "Now, I give you two choices, submit or die. Which do you prefer?" He grimaced in agony, thinking, "This guy is truly terrifying. I've never encountered an opponent like this before." He pretended to yield and said, "Senior, you misunderstand. I am willing to sign a contract and become the divine weapon of your disciple." He thought to himself, "A great man knows when to bend and when to stand firm, for now, I'll endure." Zhang Yijian raised his hand and said, "Hand over the key." He quickly replied, "Ah, yes." A key was handed to Zhang Yijian. He smiled lightly and said, "A sensible person is a true hero. Consider yourself a sensible person." He glanced over and called, "Yirong, come here and sign the contract. He will be yours from now on." She happily replied, "Thank you, master." She walked over, pointed, and pressed her forehead against the spirit sword. It gradually dissolved, shouting in anger, and then transformed into a sword, flying into Zhao Yirong's hand. She looked at it and exclaimed, "It is indeed a beautiful sword god." Zhang Yijian went to the door, inserted the key, and said, "The 8th level has been breached. There's still one final level. Prepare well, and let's enter together." Upon entering, they were greeted by yet another chaotic scene, with corpses lying everywhere. Zhang Yijian, puzzled, muttered, "Is this really the 8th level?" At that moment, several soldiers on horseback rushed over, shouting, "Get out of the way! Hurry up and get out of the way!" Zhang Yijian quickly embraced both Zhao Yirong and pulled them aside, saying, "Be careful." One soldier suddenly pulled the reins, causing the horse to neigh loudly and then stop. He paused and looked at Zhang Yijian's group, saying, "Are you looking to die? Daring to block the way of border soldiers?" The general sitting on the horse heard him and immediately corrected, "Xiao Zhao, don't treat the civilians like that." Hearing this, he laughed heartily and replied, "Yes, General." Another soldier looked back and asked Zhang Yijian, "Little brother, did we scare you?" Zhang Yijian waved his hand, saying, "It's okay." The general then instructed, "This is a battlefield. You all should leave here quickly. Combat can break out at any moment." At that moment, an urgent report came through. A soldier on horseback was galloping towards the general, pursued by a group of hostile tribes. As he ran, he shouted, "The first line of defense has fallen. The enemy has breached." The general quickly drew his sword, saying, "This is bad. Quickly deal with the enemy." He raised his sword high and shouted, "Gentlemen, heed my command, follow me to charge at the enemy and stop the foreign tribe." The soldiers shouted in unison, "Kill." At that moment, Zhang Yijian finally understood the situation and said, "The 8th level is a battlefield?" Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun examined the map and said, "Master, the red dots on this map seem to be moving." Zhang Yijian approached and said, "Let me take a look." He looked at the map and said, "Wow, this is very close to us. Could that red dot be one of them?" Meanwhile, the general was valiantly fighting off the enemy. He continuously delivered powerful strikes. While fighting, he said, "Behind us is the military camp, we must absolutely prevent the invaders from breaking in." The foreign tribe moved forward and said, "Today is our lucky day, we finally meet someone who can fight back. His head belongs to me." Saying this, he charged at the soldiers, slashing fiercely. The general suddenly turned around, startled. The red-haired foreign invader gathered spiritual energy in his hand and charged forward. The general laughed heartily and said, "Let me taste your blood." He swiped a claw at him. The general was injured and dropped his sword. The anxious soldiers rushed over, saying, "Protect the general." They all pointed their spears at him, shouting, "Kill." But with just one slap, he knocked all the soldiers away. The general, injured and filled with hatred, clenched his fists and said, "How can this be? Has the foreign tribe evolved even further? What should we do? If we continue fighting, everyone will die." He stood up and urgently shouted, "Retreat." Suddenly, Zhang Yijian rushed out, surprising the general. He looked at him and said, "So the red dot is you?" The general, confused, asked, "Why are you here?" He pushed Zhang Yijian back, saying, "Go quickly. I no longer have the strength to protect you." On the foreign tribe's side, the red-haired man excitedly clawed forward, laughing loudly, "Ha ha. Now that I'm here, everyone stays." As he saw the attack approaching, the general helplessly said, "This is bad." But with just one hand, Zhang Yijian shattered that technique. Seeing this, he was left in disbelief. The general could not believe his eyes and said, How can this be? He has countered the swift attack of the foreign tribe." Zhang Yijian seriously told him, "Until the red dot is clarified, you cannot die yet." The red-haired man, angry, said, "Little guy, if you don't want to die, quickly get lost." Zhang Yijian created a fiery aura around himself and then asked, "You just told me to die, and now you tell me to get lost. What's wrong? Are you scared?" He was immediately provoked and charged forward, shouting, looking for death. Zhang Yijian easily grabbed his hand and then threw him down to the ground. He looked up in fear, but Zhang Yijian showed no mercy and stepped down. This footstep caused the ground to crack and break. Zhang Yijian kept his foot there, causing dust and debris to fly everywhere. The general was also confused and said, "What is this situation?" The soldiers nearby were panicking, saying, "Damn, who is he? So strong. He killed the foreign tribe leader in one move, even stronger than Lei Hai, stronger than the general." The remaining members of the foreign tribe were terrified and fled quickly, shouting, "The leader is dead. Run!" At this moment, the general approached, cupping his fists and said, "Daoist friend, earlier I was blind and almost didn't recognize your true form. I foolishly attempted to protect you. How embarrassing." Zhang Yijian was also refreshing, saying, "You're being polite, we are fated to meet, saving people is just a small matter." General laughed heartily upon hearing this and said, "Daoist friend is truly generous. If you don't mind, tonight I would like to host a banquet to properly thank you. What do you think?" Zhang Yijian shook hands with Sun General and replied, "Then we won't be polite anymore." The general laughed heartily. "It's settled then." That evening, in a military camp, a banquet was set up inside. Sun General raised his glass to Zhang Yijian, happily saying, "Cheers, to our benefactor who saved our lives." Everyone happily drained their cups. Meng Qi looked at her two senior sisters and said, "Master and senior sisters are really drunk." She ran out of the tent, saying, "I will go prepare beds for everyone." After a while outside, Zhang Yijian was already fast asleep, completely unaware of his surroundings. Meng Qi carried her two senior sisters inside the room and said, "Master and senior sisters really make others worry. I still have to clean up the aftermath." "Alright, it's all taken care of." She placed her two senior sisters on the bed and then let out a sigh. She obediently curled up in a blanket on the floor and said, "I need to go to sleep too." She also said to her master and her two senior sisters, "Good night." Zhao Yirong exhaled, blushed, and then began to undress, saying, "It's too hot." Early in the morning, screams from inside Zhang Yijian's tent echoed outside. Hearing the scream, Zhang Yijian jumped up in panic and asked, "What's wrong?" Zhao Yirong and Jiang Yiyun, both disheveled, hugged each other and asked, "Master, we drank too much last night, what did we do?" "It can't be anything bad, right?" Zhang Yijian was frightened and asked, "What is going on?" "I don't remember anything." Meng Qi, who was sleeping on the ground, slowly woke up, rubbed her eyes, and said, "Master, senior sisters, you drank too much last night, I carried you both in here." Zhang Yijian got off the bed, put on her clothes, and asked, "Nothing happened last night, right?" The girl replied, "No, you both were sound asleep." Jiang Yiyun sighed in relief, saying, "That's good." A map was placed on the table. Zhang Yijian smiled lightly and said, "Ha, the red dot is moving." The general entered with two soldiers, holding breakfast. He said, "Zhang Daoist friend, I have prepared breakfast for you." The two girls, Zhao Yirong, were delighted to see the food and said, "Wow, there's food." Both of them enjoyed the meal, which pleased General Sun, who said, "Take your time eating, there is still plenty outside." Zhang Yijian, on the other hand, remained puzzled by the map, thinking, "Why is he the red dot? It's really strange. System, check this for me." The system appeared and checked the general, then announced, "Check starting." General Sun is the incarnation of the spirit general, bearing the mission to resist the foreign tribe. He is the protector of the 8th level. Zhang Yijian understood and thought, so that's it. But how can I obtain the key to leave from General Sun? The system replied, eliminate the foreign tribe. Additionally, assist him in fulfilling his wish. General Sun looked at Zhang Yijian with confusion and asked, Zhang Daoist friend, why aren't you eating? Zhang Yijian was focused, and when asked, he stammered a bit, saying, I'm not very hungry. Alright, Sun General, can you tell me what your situation is? When Sun General heard the question, he sincerely replied, Me? I'm just a martial man. Since I was young, I've been following my father to fight in battles. My family and all my friends have died on the battlefield. Because of this, I have an unending feud with the foreign tribe. My wish in this life is to eliminate the foreign tribe. Zhang Yijian clenched his fist and affirmed, I can help you fulfill that wish. Sun General was shocked and asked, You? He sighed and said, I know you are very strong, but even with strength, you cannot eradicate the foreign tribe. He stepped outside, waved his hand, and said, Just rest. I will go handle the military affairs. Zhang Yijian waved his hand and said, Disciples, follow the master for a trip. Zhao Yirong asked, Where does the master want to go? Zhang Yijian replied, To the territory of the foreign tribe. With that, the three of them headed to the territory of the foreign tribe. He landed on a branch and said, I am very curious as to why the foreign tribe is so hard to eliminate. He suddenly exclaimed in astonishment. Before him were countless strange eggs, making him wonder, what are those? Looking further away, he saw even more. Almost the entire area was filled with foreign tribe members who were kneeling below, bowing respectfully to someone above. I pay my respects to the Wu King, he shouted. Listen carefully. My tribe is the chosen race. As long as the mother nest exists, we shall endure through the ages. Your mission is to follow me to conquer the human clan. The ones below chanted, Conquer the human clan. Conquer the human clan. Zhang Yijian, standing there, observed everything and said, Mother nest, I understand now. The tribal leader sensed someone outside and shouted, Who is there? After that, he punched in that direction. Sensing someone on the branch, Zhang Yijian was struck and a large hole was made in him. When the dust settled, no one was there. The leader felt confused and wondered, where did they go? Am I hallucinating? Zhang Yijian had secretly flown away from another location. Meanwhile, in Sun General's army, the soldiers were training and shouted in unison, Kill. Sun General stood aside, loudly adjusting the formation and reminding them. Recently, the activities of the foreign tribe have been occurring frequently. You and the other rookies must pay close attention to training, make an effort, and rush to the battlefield to achieve results as soon as possible. At this moment, Zhang Yijian flew back, hastily informing the general of the news he had just heard. General Sun, I have extremely important intelligence. General Sun, puzzled, asked, Zhang Daoist friend, what intelligence do you have? Zhang Yijian frowned and said, It is the weakness of the foreign tribe. Upon hearing this, General Sun immediately became anxious and urged, Quick, tell me. Zhang Yijian did not delay and explained, There is a mother nest of the foreign tribe located to the north. It is essentially a place where an endless supply of foreign tribe life eggs are produced. If we can destroy this location, we can eliminate the root of the foreign tribe. One person from behind interjected and asked, What is a mother nest? We have been searching for it for so many years, why have we never discovered it? Another man in gray said, That's right, he might be talking nonsense. Zhang Yijian ignored the two and said, General Sun, please trust me. As long as you cooperate, I can destroy the mother nest. Eliminate the root of the foreign tribe. General Sun showed no signs of doubt and asked, How should we coordinate? Zhang Yijian clenched his fists and outlined the plan, We will attack the mother nest. He led the troops to block the exit to prevent remnants of the foreign tribe from escaping. The two old men on the other side suddenly spoke up, General, this person is definitely lying, do not trust him. Even if the mother nest exists, the north is still the stronghold of the foreign tribe, anyone who dares to intrude will surely die. General Sun stood in the middle of two opposing opinions, feeling a bit hesitant. He said, This matter needs to be approached cautiously, but if the mother nest is real, then it is worth the risk. He finally made a decision, turning to say, Zhang, my Daoist friend, I will trust you this time. Tell me, what should we do? Zhang Yijian replied, You will lead 300 light infantry to the north to guard the exit. Leave the rest to me. General Sun agreed with him. That night, Zhang Yijian led the attack on the mother nest, followed by Zhao Yirong, Jiang Yiyun, Meng Qi, and General Sun along with a few soldiers. He said, Everyone, hurry up. It's right in front. They dropped down a cliff. He pointed ahead and said, What's ahead is the camp. You will set up here. Don't let a single foreign tribe member escape. The two old men followed along but hadn't helped at all before they arrogantly said, "What are you basing your claim on that the foreign tribe will definitely come out?" "That's right, the foreign tribe is so strong, it should be you who needs to escape." Zhang Yijian was furious at these words and shouted, "Shut up, I've tolerated you long enough." He was angry but couldn't say anything else, only managed to say, "You." The Sun General had to step in to silence him, saying, "All right, if we've arrived, then just trust him and stop talking." Zhang Yijian directed his disciples, "There will be a fierce battle soon. You must also hold your ground here and assist the general in stopping the enemy." All three obeyed the order and replied in unison, "Understood." After instructing them, Zhang Yijian leaped inside, saying, "I'll go in and play with the foreign tribe first." The two old men stood below, angrily snorting and saying, "Going to die and dragging us along with you. It's really damn frustrating. Let's see what you're capable of." Zhang Yijian leaped into the air. He stood there and said, "It's not easy for the dragon clan to be destroyed, we just need to use a few more tricks." As soon as the foreign tribe members saw Zhang Yijian, they rushed out, shouting, "There's a human clan. Don't let him get close to the nest." Zhang Yijian raised his hand to create a stream of fire energy and said, "You arrived just in time, I'll use your souls to fuel the great formation to kill the dragons." The two men outside looked inside and loudly commented, "That little guy is surrounded, he's bound to die. General, we should leave, don't bury our lives because of him." At that moment, a huge explosion occurred inside. The loud boom echoed. The two men covered their hands and looked inside, saying, "What's happening? What just occurred?" When they saw Zhang Yijian's figure, they were astonished, saying, "Oh my god, he actually killed so many foreign tribe members." Zhang Yijian looked at his hands, still not satisfied, and said, "The power is still a bit lacking, I haven't killed them all." The few survivors, armed and charging forward, shouted, "Charge in, kill him." Zhang Yijian was not afraid and directly charged at them. With each blow he delivered, only the sounds of their screams could be heard. He clasped his hands together and said, "There are too many of them, we must resolve this quickly." He gathered spiritual energy in his hands and struck the ground forcefully, saying, "Infinite hand." At that moment, the ground cracked open, spreading across the cavern. The three foreign tribe members standing on the other side were bewildered. As the ground split apart, those on top fell through, shouting, "Ah!" The two elders standing beside the Sun General were momentarily stunned and said, He is so extraordinary. We were blind just now and even mocked the Celestial." The foreign tribe leader was now left alone, unable to believe it. He said, "Impossible. How can the human clan have someone this powerful?" The two behind him, furious, asked, "King, what should we do now? Once the mother nest is destroyed, our tribe will be doomed." The king, enraged, slapped his face and said, "What are you panicking for? Can the human clan be stronger than me?" The two foreign tribe members quickly knelt down and said, "King Majestic. As soon as King makes a move, victory is certain from the first battle." He snorted and said, "I will go meet him for a moment." Zhang Yijian created the celestial seal palm, with countless hands appearing, and said, "Next, we just need to press the advantage and destroy the nest to complete the mission." He waved his hand to command those seals and said, "Go." King coincidentally came out and made a barrier, saying, "Block for me." The moves of Zhang Yijian hitting that barrier had no effect whatsoever. Zhang Yijian retracted his technique, feeling puzzled. King seized the moment, brandishing his axe and shouted, "Human clan brat, don't even think about being arrogant." He gritted his teeth and swung the axe, delivering a powerful blow. Zhang Yijian teleported behind him and asked, "Are you the king of the foreign tribe?" He continued to swing the axe madly, saying, "Stop talking. Die for me." Saying that, he slashed down with the axe again. Zhang Yijian dodged the attack and couldn't help but sigh, his strength is too domineering. He slashed again and yelled, "Human clan brat, prepare to die." Zhang Yijian laughed lightly and said, "I don't want to waste any more time." Zhang Yijian raised his hand to block the axe blade above. King was shocked and said, how can this be? Before he could fully process his surprise, Zhang Yijian shattered the axe in his hand with one blow. He scoffed, sending the broken shards of the axe flying back at him, saying, "O king of the foreign tribe, have you ever thought of dying together with your mothership?" He cried out, as the sharp axe blades flew toward him, and then he died shortly after. The two standing there saw this and said, "The king is defeated. How can this be?" Sun General outside was overjoyed and said, "Great, Zhang Daoist friend has won." The two old men were also astonished and said to each other, "Zhang Taoist is truly a divine being. It's over, it's over. We held such resentment toward him before, he won't hold a grudge, will he?" Meanwhile, Zhang Yijian was creating large seals, intending to do something, and then struck down, causing dust and debris to fill the sky. The foreign tribe members who could escape immediately risked their lives to flee outside. Seeing this, Sun General quickly commanded, "All officers, heed my order. Do not let any foreign tribe member escape." The soldiers immediately responded, "Yes." Then they brandished their swords, saying, "Block them." General Sun also rushed to attack them directly. He shouted loudly, "Kill." Half an hour later, the dust began to settle. General Sun stood before the bodies of the foreign tribesmen, holding his sword high, and said, "This time there won't be a single foreign tribe left. It is a blessing for the human clan." Zhang Yijian landed and walked over, asking, "General Sun, are you satisfied with this battle?" General Sun immediately knelt down along with the soldiers behind him and said, "Zhang Daoist friend, thank you for your full support." At that moment, the two old men also knelt before Zhang Yijian, saying, "We failed to recognize your greatness before and offended you, we hope you can forgive us." Zhang Yijian looked at the two old men with disdain and replied, "The petty actors put on a show, I basically don't take it to heart." Upon hearing this, the old man said, "That's great, thank you, Zhang Daoist." Zhang Yijian turned to speak with General Sun, "Your long-cherished wish has been fulfilled." Hearing this, General Sun laughed and replied, "The greatest wish of my life was to destroy the foreign tribes. This time, with your help, Zhang Daoist friend." He clasped his hands and spoke a few more words before gradually disappearing. "My long-held wish has come true. Thank you once again." The Sun General disappeared and then appeared again as a general command. The two old men were bewildered by this scene and said, "What is the situation? What's wrong with the general?" Zhang Yijian also found it hard to understand, "What is this? Could it be the general command?" The system confirmed it, displaying, "Congratulations host, you have received the general command. This command is a dimensional item that can summon an army for battle." Hearing the announcement, Zhang Yijian joyfully said, "This is indeed a good item, this trip was not in vain." At this moment, several streams of spiritual energy gathered in the sky, then a spatial gate opened before Zhang Yijian. Zhao Yirong felt a bit scared and asked, "Master, where does this door lead to?" Zhang Yijian crossed his arms and said, "Don't be nervous, the 8th level has been passed, we can go back now." Zhang Yijian waved his hand and said, "Follow me, let's return." Another gate outside was also opened. The outer disciples clamored, saying, "Look, the void gate has opened." The outer disciples were trying to decide who would be the first to go out, this time entering the minor realm. The Lei Ting sect must be the first to come out. The first one to go out is what? Only when you get the sword god can you consider yourself capable. The disciples from other sects hearing this looked down, snorted, "The sword god definitely belongs to our Black Star sect. What good is talking nonsense? Our Shanhai sect is sure to obtain it." Zhang Yijian did not disappoint the expectations of the two sects and confidently walked out with his disciples. Everyone was surprised, saying, "Someone has gone out. It's him." Meng Qi looked over and asked, "Is this the outside world?" The blonde disciples over there were puzzled, saying, "How can it be him? Where are the people from Black Star sect?" Lei Hai walked out stroking his beard, laughing heartily, saying, "Zhang Yijian is indeed the talent I value. He is the first one to go out." The disciples from Black Star sect made a scene, shouting, Zhang Yijian, where is our master late Patian? And the elder of Black Star Sect too, did you do something to trap them inside? Zhang Yijian replied calmly, they lacked the ability, so they all died. This statement left them bewildered, asking, what? No way. Even a useless person like you can go out, why is the master group not capable? They said a word or two, then drew their swords and attacked, saying, you must be up to something. You, the green-haired one, charge forward. Shout to kill him and avenge the master. Zhang Yijian did not hold back and drew his sword, striking with a slash that knocked down the useless group in front of him. With just that one sword strike, it caused a massive explosion. The others were bewildered, saying, what kind of weapon is this? That must be the sword god. He found the sword god. Zhang Yijian stood tall, holding his sword pointed straight ahead, saying, your people died due to their lack of ability, it has nothing to do with me. If you still want to cause trouble, feel free to charge forward. Hearing this, they all fell silent and had no rebuttal. Zhang Yijian arrogantly walked past them, saying two more words, noisy. Lei Hai approached with cupped hands, smiling contentedly, saying, Zhang Master Peak, congratulations, congratulations. Zhang Yijian also cupped his hands in response, Master is too polite, I feel a bit tired so I will head back to Tianyin sect. Lei Hai immediately replied, okay. On the way back, Jiang Yiyun asked, by the way, Master, are we going to pass through Tianlu city on the way back? Zhang Qiao is still there, let's go see her. Meanwhile, Zhang Qiao was being hunted by a few men. One of them pointed and commanded, don't let her escape. Killing Zhang Qiao could lead to a promotion. A blonde man ran out to block her path, saying, Zhang Qiao, you can't escape. The two men behind him also drew their swords defensively, saying, City Lord, we are cornered. Zhang Qiao gritted her teeth and cursed, how annoying. Fenghai City wants to take over Tianlu City from me, I won't agree to this. The leading man arrogantly said, give up struggling. Our city lord Guolong has broken through to the realm of saving lives, killing you is like killing a bug. The two men lunged forward, shouting, stop talking nonsense, kill her. A sword suddenly appeared, startling Zhang Qiao as she stepped back. In just a few moves, it dispatched the men to their ancestors in an instant. Zhang Qiao recognized it and said, this is the apprentice gift that master gave. He killed all those guys and hovered in the air. Zhang Qiao watched in joy and said, I didn't expect that in the master-apprentice gift there would be a divine weapon like this. Someone stood on the mountain looking down. He clenched his fist and said, I must have Tianlu City. Little sister, I finally found you. He flew down and said, as long as I conquer her, I will be able to dominate both cities. The divine weapon seemed to sense something and flew away. Zhang Qiao was confused and said, what's going on? Why is the divine weapon running away? It shot straight towards that person, surprising him, and he said, what is that? It directly pierced through his body and flew away. He gasped and fell to the ground. Zhang Qiao and two subordinates ran over and said, this is bad. The divine weapon is out of control, it seems to be slaughtering people. She ran over to see that the guy was lying on the ground motionless. One subordinate checked him and said, he's gone. Zhang Qiao was worried and said, what should we do? I really didn't mean to. The subordinate said, let's take the body back to the city, maybe the elders have a way to treat him. Zhang Qiao had no choice but to take out the storage ring and said, all right, let's give it a try. She said, and immediately pulled him into the storage ring. Inside the city, the elders pointed at the letter on the table and said, City Lord Fenghai has just broken through to the realm of saving lives and has sent us a challenge letter. Do you have any countermeasures? Another elder sighed and said, it's difficult. Zhang Qiao walked in and spoke up, elders, I am back. The elder looked at her and asked, City Lord, how did the negotiations with Fenghai City go? Zhang Qiao responded, their City Lord has just come out of seclusion, I couldn't meet him, and I wasn't even allowed to enter the door, I was surrounded and hunted. The white-haired elder was surprised and said, Feng Hai City is really determined to start a war with us. Zhang Qiao took out the storage ring and said, by the way, I accidentally killed someone on the way. Elders, please help me see if this person can still be saved. The person was brought out. The elders gathered to examine him. The red-haired elder shook his head and said, he is completely lifeless, he can't be saved. He drew a formation diagram and added, now is not the time to worry about outsiders. In order to cast a spell to see where the city lord of Feng Hai City is and when the battle will begin, the formation diagram showed the scene of that person attacking. Zhang Qiao was surprised and said, wait. Why does this city lord look so familiar? She looked down at the corpse and said, it can't be, is it him? The black-haired elder asked, City Lord, Mo Chen is a cultivator who has survived a tribulation, how can you kill him? Zhang Qiao had to explain, I didn't take action, it's this divine weapon that automatically stabbed him to death. The two old men behind were astonished and asked again, what? Isn't this the divine weapon that your master gifted you? Your master truly is a divine being. Just then, all four of Zhang Yijian's disciples entered, calling, Disciple, the master is here. The two elders suddenly turned around and called, Zhang, the immortal. Zhang Qiao walked over, cupped her hands, and replied, Disciple pays respects to the master. Zhang Yijian replied casually, Don't be polite, don't be polite. I'm here this time to take you to Tianyan sect. So, are you ready? Zhang Qiao frowned slightly and replied, Master, I still have a concern that I cannot resolve. Zhang Yijian frowned and asked, what is it? Zhang Qiao replied, Feng Hai City next door wants to swallow our place, they have sent a challenge letter. Although Qin has died, they definitely won't let it go easily. I want to resolve this matter before continuing to follow the master. Zhang Yijian did not force her but placed a hand on her shoulder and said, if that's the case, then the master will wait for you. Meanwhile, in Feng Hai City, the elders were discussing among themselves. An old man frowned and said, damn it. The city lord went out hunting and killed Zhang Qiao, but his business card was shattered. One man clenched his fists and said, Zhang Qiao only has golden elixir cultivation, how could she kill the city lord? A pink-haired man declared, the city lord is dead, we must take revenge for him. Another elder suggested, why don't we awaken the old city lord? As long as he makes a move, Zhang Qiao will definitely die, without a doubt. The black-haired elder slammed the table and decided, all right, let's invite the old city lord out of the mountain. That evening, they knelt before a wooden coffin and called out, Old city lord, your son has been killed. We want to invite you to go down the mountain and punish the murderer. The chest trembled a few times after hearing this. Inside, a pair of blood-red eyes appeared, and a voice echoed, tonight, at the hour of Yin, you will follow me into Tianlu City. The group immediately replied, yes. The cool evening was full of stars. Zhang Yijian was eating a melon while leaning back in the chair with his legs crossed, saying, the moon is really beautiful tonight. Zhang Qiao approached with a plate of fried chicken in hand and said, Master, there's late-night food, eat it while it's hot. Zhang Yijian got up from the chair, exclaimed, your disciple is thoughtful. He picked up a chicken leg and ate it heartily, saying, I won't hold back. At that moment, the door outside was suddenly smashed open. The two looked outside at the same time, not understanding what was happening. 3 elders from Feng Hai City walked in as if they owned the place, asking, where's Zhang Qiao? The elders inside heard the noise and ran out to check, asking, City Lord, what's the matter? Zhang Qiao crossed her arms and said, it's nothing, just the people from Feng Hai City coming to find us. The elder with black hair pointed and shouted, Zhang Qiao, you killed my city lord. Have you thought about the consequences? Zhang Qiao replied calmly, he brought death upon himself, it has nothing to do with me. This made the man speechless, and he said, you. The old man, angry, continued, tonight, we from Feng Hai City will not let you off. Do you dare to fight? Zhang Qiao scoffed, disdainfully saying, you are not even worthy of challenging me. The old man, relying on his backing, laughed and said, fine, fine, fine. I indeed do not have the qualifications, but there are those who do. He knelt down with his hands clasped, loudly announcing, "I welcome the old city lord." At this moment, some strange forces appeared from nowhere. A coffin lid flew in, accompanied by dark spiritual energy emanating from it. Zhang Qiao was on guard and said, "What is this?" The voice from inside the coffin said, "Zhang City Lord, you killed my son, tonight you must accept the challenge." The coffin was broken into many pieces. The old man then said, "Otherwise, I will wipe out your entire family." As the fog dissipated, an old man with gray hair and tattered clothes emerged. The elder stood behind cautiously and said to Zhang Qiao, "City Lord, be careful. This man is a corpse cultivator, extremely dangerous." Two old men bravely rushed forward, saying, "Protect the city lord. Kill." The old corpse cultivator unleashed horrifying human-like vengeful spirits, snorting as he said, "A bunch of insignificant pests." He commanded the vengeful spirits to rush at the two elders, saying, "Let them all die." The two elders cried out in pain. Zhang Qiao, in a hurry, shouted, "Stop. Your target is me. I accept the challenge." The elder next to her raised his hand to stop her, saying, "No way. The power of this monster is on par with mid-tier save lives, you are not his opponent." At this moment, Zhang Yijian stepped forward and said, "Don't say that. My disciple cannot be a coward." He tapped her forehead and continued, "With a master here, you can just face the challenge." Zhang Qiao suddenly realized that this was the imparting of a god-level skill. The old corpse cultivator looked down upon them, pointing and saying, "I can't believe you have a child as your master. Zhang City Lord, you really should be ashamed." Zhang Yijian remained composed, crossing his legs and folding his arms, saying, "A child? I fear that even a child's disciple, you cannot defeat." Hearing this, the old corpse cultivator began to get angry, saying, "So young yet so full of cheek." He summoned a divine soul, loudly boasting, "I want you to know what it means to have the sky above and the earth below." The terrifying divine soul howled a few times and charged towards Zhang Qiao, forcing her to quickly defend herself. However, it howled and struck down with great force, causing Zhang Qiao to lose her balance and fall to the ground. Zhang Yijian remained calm, munching on a cucumber while reminding her, "Disciple, take it seriously." Zhang Qiao got back up and replied earnestly, "Yes, master." She unleashed a technique, exclaiming, "I won't bring shame to you." That technique struck towards the corpse cultivator, pushing it back with her powerful spiritual energy. Having dealt with it, Zhang Qiao drew a formation diagram and shouted, "Old thief." She struck down with the technique, declaring, "My Tianlu city is not so easy to provoke." The old corpse cultivator condensed blood essence and snorted, saying, "Just a little trick." The blood essence formed a circle and attacked Zhang Qiao's formation diagram. But unexpectedly, it couldn't withstand her technique and was repelled backwards by the fire energy. The old man slammed against the wall, groaning in pain. The enraged elder with black hair exclaimed, "How could this happen? How did the old city lord get knocked down by Zhang Qiao from the golden elixir stage?" After finishing a piece of melon, Zhang Yijian stood up and said, "Hey, you're too weak. Do you need some nourishment?" The old corpse cultivator tried to get up, saying, "No wonder you killed my son. It turns out you've cultivated a divine level skill." He took steps outside and said, "But I want to kill you. It's not as simple as you saying stop and I stop." He once again condensed his blood essence, and a large, fierce corpse cultivator appeared.